1 p.m. live stream. We're here to chat about Freemasonry. Thank you to everybody who is joined us thus far. Everybody is doing very well. Here it is. Take a few moments, hit that like and subscribe button if you're just joining us. My hope is to get above to get 2,500 subscribers. I'm on the way. I'm close right now. I've got 2,493. So let's see if we can get up to 500. Welcome, Smokey. 4 days, and then August 29th, we are doing our live stream. It's going to be an absolute blast. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you've told all of your people, your audience, to join us. It's going to be fun. 12 p.m., so noon on August 29th. And if, by the way, you guys watching this don't follow Scoring Guys Promotions on Medium, please do. In the meantime, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing and what it is that you guys want to chat about. I'm going to talk today about a couple of things. I'm going to go through the recent Medium story that I wrote. I think that's a little bit better. Medium story that I wrote. Once again, it's going through all the stuff regarding Steve Jobs, his leadership style, his kind of philosophy, and the extent to which I think that we can use those things there's like a clicking sound. Hold on just 1 second. The extent to which we can use those kind of things, there we go, to or apply those type of ideas to Freemasonry. I think one of the best quotes I ever heard was, you should be willing to take a good idea from the janitor, which I 100% agree with. But I also think we should be willing to take, a good idea in Freemasonry from Steve Jobs. I think one of the issues we have in Freemasonry is we have very often refused to look at or look for good ideas that exist outside of Freemasonry, and then to bring those ideas as much as we can within. I just said August 29th, so like 4 days away. It's our live stream. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to take part in it. 12 p.m. It'll be on my personal YouTube channel, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I also wanted to talk about this article. I've talked about this guy on the stream before. Kevin Ashton. He is a restaurant chef who made a surprising career pivot to work in a sorority house. I've actually shown his videos on some of these streams. I think we could benefit a lot from a Kevin Ashton type of worker in our lodges, which I want to talk about what that means. But that is for about an hour in. For now, it's just hang out. Any questions on Freemasonry? Any thoughts on Freemasonry? Any comments on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I would love to hear it. I'm Eastern Standard Time, so right now for me it's 1:13. It's 1:13 p.m. Well, you can still read the stuff anyways. I think I actually okay. So it's going to be 11 o'clock starting your time if it's 12 o'clock my time. I'll try to make sure I send you that link on Discord at some point to make sure you can join. And Dad, how's it going for you? Oh, we got Texas here. Thank you. I like this shirt. It's got the stains on it. the uh, whatchamacallit. It's got the bleach stains, but that's okay. I'm doing well, the Brotherhood. How are you doing? I hope that you're doing well. Like I was saying, we're going to be doing a few different things today. Eventually, about an hour in, we're going to start talking about the recent article I wrote on Medium. We're going to be talking about Build Something Wonderful. It's a story I wrote. It's about ideas and lessons from Steve Jobs that I think we can apply within Freemasonry, and Kevin Ashton sorority house chef, but why I think that works for Freemasonry. By the way, I'll also give a heads up. I almost got scammed today, actually. I got a scam email. I didn't fall for it, but it looked very professional, so it took me a minute or two before I was able to avoid getting scammed, because it did almost fall for it. So just be extra, extra, extra careful, to everybody out there. I know sometimes some older people can be especially at risk of getting scammed. So, I mean, I actually talked about that during the holiday season, where I mentioned to some people, we have a lot of older Freemasons. Christmas, holiday season, it's a real big time for scammers. So just pay attention to yourself and be careful. We are live. How's it going? Mr. Keeps on ticking. I hope that you are doing well, as always. I hope everybody watching this is doing well. And how was your weekend? I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I hope you guys got to rest up a little bit. I had a blast resting up after it was a very fun, very enjoyable stream, but also 24 hours, very long time. So it was nice to get a little bit of a break over the weekend. But I hope everybody I'm doing well. I've enjoyed the mac and cheese. It's delicious. I'm looking forward to this week on the 29th to getting me and Smokey on the same stream. That is going to be an absolute blast. So no, it's going to be a lot of fun. What was the TV show you watched? And nothing's wrong with being a little bit lazy sometimes. I think sometimes if we're not being a lazy bones, it's very easy for us to work ourselves into the ground. Good, good. I hope it goes well for you, Texas. I'm sure it's going to be a blast. Let me know when you get your second and when you get obviously when your third is scheduled. And I did get your message, so no worries. It's on its way. I'll send you the tracking number. You'll see it. It's my personal channel, not this one, but I'll put something on Facebook so you can find it that way. And to everybody watching so far, I hope everybody is, as always, having an excellent day. Take a moment, hit that like and subscribe. I have got 7 subscribers away from 2,500. So I'm hoping I can maybe reach it this week. We'll keep our fingers crossed that I can get there. In the meantime, though, I hope everybody is doing well, as always. And give it about an hour, and then we'll start on the main topics. It's going to be about this former restaurant chef that I'm a big fan of. It's the look now, all right? This is the look. I'm ahead of the curve. Today I'm doing this. Tomorrow Gwen Stefani's wearing her shirts with bleach stains. I like the way this looks with the bleach stains. I remember I did it by accident. I don't know how, but some bleach got onto this and it made it all messy. But I like the way it looks, so I'm trendsetter is what I'm doing here, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. All right. But there's this guy, he's called Kevin Ashton. He's very popular on TikTok. He's also on YouTube, quite popular. I think that we can learn something from him that I would like to see us try to apply to our Masonic lodges. It'll be tough, but I'm going to talk about him, and then I'm going to go through Build Something Wonderful, which I've talked about before, but it's something I wrote on Medium, and I'm going to talk about lessons from Steve Jobs and my responses or lessons from Steve Jobs' kind of philosophy, and my responses to the same. So, but that's about an hour in. For now, we're just going to wait and see who joins and what they want to chat about. But some of us are over here setting trends. Mr. Keeps on Ticking. All right, so keep that in mind. I may try to invite some people to join this stream while I get the chance. I'm digging. I mean, honestly, Mr. Keeps, it had been probably almost a couple years since I'd had any of that Kraft microwave mac and cheese, just because I used to get it for work all the time. And so, having to eat them, getting to eat it again, it was very, very good. I think mac and cheese is an underrated thing. Expand on the 4 cardinal virtues. Honestly, it's interesting because you can learn a lot of them through Stoicism, and even I believe that they also apply to the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church has a lot of those things in it as well, right? Prudence, temperance, fortitude, justice. I mean, there are other virtues as well that pop up, not just those. I mean, in Freemasonry, there's a lot of discussions around a lot of different types of virtues. I actually did a podcast. I concur, Smokey. Inside me says hello. Hello, inside me. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you will be inside of this podcast by hitting the like and subscribe button. Sogo Hotel, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Right, and so, I mean, to me, I think that is nonsense. I will definitely, Chicago does not need the National Guard. Makes me sad to see. I mean, anytime you have the military being used for civilian operations, I think that's a pretty dangerous thing. Posse comitatus is a real thing and an important thing. For me personally, the cardinal virtue that I always most associated myself with and most try to think about on a day-to-day basis is temperance, because it's probably the one that I suffer, or that I have the least of. I'd like to think I have a certain level of strength or fortitude. I like to think I have a certain understanding of justice. I don't know, but temperance is something I struggle with, right? The ability to both remain calm in adversarial times, as well as remain calm in times of success, and not allow yourself to either become too excited when things go well and too despondent when things go poorly. And so temperance is the one I most often think about. I think the 4 cardinal virtues were first mentioned in 17, well, in the entered apprentice degree, so in the constitutions, I think, in the Anderson constitutions, though I could be wrong. I'm trying to look up quickly when if we can find when they first show up, maybe under Preston or Webb. So the Texas Monitor of the Lodge, Texas Monitor, right, which is Texas Masons are awesome, provides an explanation of each of the 4 virtues. I'll use this because Texas Freemasons. I love Texas Freemasonry, and I love most of their explanations. I think are on point. Temperance is that due restraint upon our affections and passions, which renders the body tame and governable, and frees the mind from the allurement of vice. This virtue should be the constant practice of every Mason, as he is thereby taught to avoid excess or the contracting of any licentious or vicious habit, the indulgence of which might lead him to disclose some of those valuable secrets which he has promised to conceal and never reveal, and which would consequently subject him to the contempt and detestation of all good Masons. Temperance represents restraint. The Mason must control his passions and desires. He must practice restraints in all things and avoid excess. He must exercise caution in his action, speech, thought, feeling, judgment, and life. Fortitude is that noble and steady purpose of mind whereby we are enabled to undergo any pain, peril, or danger when prudentially deemed expedient. This virtue is equally distant from rashness and cowardice, and, like the former, should be deeply impressed upon the mind of every Mason, as a safeguard against any illegal attack that may be made, by force or otherwise, to extort him from those valuable secrets with which he has so solemnly entrusted, and which were emblematically represented upon his first admission into the lodge. Courage is also a name for fortitude. Usually under the Stoic philosophy, fortitude was often referred to as courage, or, instead of saying fortitude, they said courage. For the Mason, fortitude symbolizes more than physical courage. It also represents moral courage. The Mason must have the strength and ability to make a decision based upon his own moral convictions and stick to it regardless of the consequences. The Mason must exhibit the highest moral and ethical principles in his life and stand by those principles when society looks unfavorably upon them. Prudence teaches us to regulate our lives and actions agreeably to the dictates of reason, and is the habit by which we wisely judge and prudentially determine on all things relative to our present as well as our future happiness. This virtue should be peculiar characteristic of every Mason, not only for the government of his conduct while in lodge, but also when abroad in the world. It should be particularly attended to in all strange and mixed companies, never to let fall the least sign, token, or word, whereby the secrets of Masonry might be unlawfully obtained. In its most comprehensive sense, prudence implies not only caution, but also the ability to judge in advance the problematic consequences of one's actions. It also symbolizes wisdom in the conduct of one's activities. Wisdom of mind and soul comes from thought, study, and circumspection. It brings the Mason closer to God. Prudence reminds the Mason to reflect upon the moral and social consequences of his activities and relationship to his Creator. Justice is that standard or boundary of right, which enables us to render to every man his just due without distinction. This virtue is not only consistent with the divine and human laws, but is very cement and support of civic society. As justice is the great measure constitutes the real good man, so that it should be invariable practice of every Mason to never deviate from the minutest principles thereof. Justice symbolizes equality for the Mason. The Mason should govern his own actions, have them judged openly, and his conduct towards others should be without deception. He should undertake actions because he desires to and not because he is forced to. His actions should be unselfish and self-sacrificing. Welcome, by the way, if you're just joining us, hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Well, there is a link to it, but usually it's hard to include a link in the actual chat. It's very hard to follow through. What you can do is type in the Masonic trowel and the 4 cardinal virtues. If you copy that wording and paste that into Google, it should pop up. And it's and we shall see. So yeah, so follow that, and hopefully you guys will check that out. And where was it? Mr. Keeps, check that one out as well. That's a really good explanation, basically, of the 4 cardinal virtues. I'm curious now, because I don't actually know when the 4 cardinal virtues first made appearance in the ritual. So it says here, based on the evidence, the cardinal virtues were not added to the Masonic ritual until after the middle of the 18th century. Colley's Masonic Encyclopedia suggests that the cardinal virtues were taken from the Christian Church, which derived them from Plato, and to which the Church had added the 3 theological virtues, faith, hope, and charity. We also took liberty, fraternity, democracy from some things. So, Freemasonry, one of the things about it, I've talked about this a lot on these streams, right, is Freemasonry ultimately has taken has taken from many different philosophical, mythological, political, ideological, religious ideas, which is something that I appreciate about it. I think that's what makes it strong is the fact that it's not, in the same way the ancient Roman Empire was strong because it knew a good idea when it saw it and was willing to take those ideas. I think Freemasonry is the same way, and then also allow others to take those ideas after the fact. Everything from the future Farmers of America to the Free Gardeners to the Oddfellows to heck LDS, Latter Day Saints, I believe, all of which have borrowed in different areas of Freemasonry, borrowed from Freemasonry / stolen. Okay, that makes more sense. Did I get it mixed up? The 47th problem Euclid, that's the one on the past master's jewel. That's this one. Maybe I miss when you said 42nd, maybe I got them confused as well because I forget which one you said before, but the 47th is the past master's jewel, famously, right? And so, which is also, by the way, Pythagoras had the idea first. So, or not, I don't know what had the idea first per se, but Pythagoras had the idea as well, perhaps independently is the better way to put it. Um, because Pythagoras showed up. When was he? Pythagoras was 570 to 495 BC, and Euclid was 300. So Euclid was after Pythagoras by a little bit. But ultimately, whenever we're talking about any of this stuff, really what we're talking about more so than it's not that there's specific moral instructions that you can or moral lessons you can take from geometry, although I suppose in some ways there are. It's more the general metaphorical idea or metaphorical ideal being that the world has an order to it, the universe has an order to it, and therefore our conduct should have some sort of order to it as well, or at least our conduct should be rational and make sense. Um, right? If we are going to exist in the world, then we should recognize that there is an order to it. The great architect of the universe put that order in, and we can make decisions based upon that and expect rational outcomes, right? And there's also metaphors in terms of, we talked about this before, meeting on the level, square conduct. If you look at, for example, I mean, my one thing I'd like to get on the podcast if I could, but um, when you talk about Abraham Lincoln, maybe one of the greatest presidents of all time, probably one of the greatest presidents of all time, when he was a lawyer and he would travel from town to town being a lawyer, because back in the day, I guess what you would do as a lawyer is you'd travel like from town to town and represent different people and then go to the next town. It was like a circuit. He traveled with a copy of Euclid's work and supposedly read it every night and kind of learned about geometry from it. And then in the movie Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Lincoln actually references specific um, geometric ideas or ideals when he's determining how to proceed with the war and how to proceed with, um, freeing of the slaves. So I think that makes sense to me that there would be connections between metaphorical and um, between scientific and metaphorical understandings of morality. Another way to put it is understandings between scientific understandings of geometry and philosophical understandings of morality. I think the two of them, it makes sense that the two of them would find connections. I want to give a shout out as well to what is absolutely a gorgeous day after, a summer of being incredibly, incredibly warm. We got some cool weather. Thank heavens, it's nice and cool again. So let's hope we can keep up that cool weather for the next bit, because I love fall. Hasn't it stayed in school? I mean, I learned it in school. I think it stayed in school. Right? I hope it has, if not. Nokia. I'm Canadian. I love America, don't get me wrong, but I'm Canadian. Born in Winnipeg, live in Windsor, Ontario. I'm a member of a Masonic Lodge in America, Texas, which I love. Texas is an absolutely amazing state, as is America. But yeah, Canadian, born and raised. Okay, I love Alberta. Alberta is an awesome province. I haven't been there for, oh my God, 20 years. Crazy, crazy long time. But, I love the people. I love CFL football. You guys have got two great teams there, the Elks and the Stampeders. So I think you mean America can be the 11th province if you'd prefer, but let's not become the 51st state. How about? I like my healthcare just the way it is. Manitoban, yes, we have somebody from Manitoba as well. Although, in fairness, born and raised in England, met a nice Canadian girl, and you know how that goes. We're just going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. As always, like I said, once we get the next hour in, we're going to switch over and start our specific topics. First thing I'm going to talk about is Kevin Ashton and why I think he has a model that could potentially apply to Freemasonry, especially when it comes to our food and refreshments, and why I think there's a lot of value in those things. There's a great deal of value in what he's doing, and how we can apply it to Freemasonry. I don't know, man. I'm a fan of our healthcare system. I'm not going to knock it too much. I don't know if I've told this story on the live stream before. Maybe I have, but I was born missing both of my legs, right? And growing up, when I was really young, every now and then my mom would, gather me up and put my snowsuit on because it was Winnipeg and it's always winter. But she'd say, okay, we're going to the rehab center. And I didn't know what a rehab center was or what that meant or anything to that extent. But, she'd bundle me up and off we would go. And what I remember loving about it is they had this waiting area. It was a small waiting area with a toy room for the kids, because it was all kids who would go there. And I remember they had these blocks that I loved to play with. I don't remember, and also this ring toy game where you moved these things through these rings, or you move this ring through this. It was almost like a roller coaster, like a bunch of wires. I remember loving playing with those things. I remember they had this old-fashioned TV with bunny ears on top of this bookshelf as well at the very top, and it would always be playing cartoons. So I remember loving those things. I remember being excited to go to play with those. But I remember they would, at some point I'd go inside this room and they would sit me down in, the middle of this room, and they'd usually let me bring in a couple of toys to play with. And there's a bunch of people in a circle around me. My mom was there, and whoever else was there. I wasn't paying attention at the time, and they had one of those old-fashioned light boards where you put X-rays on it, and they had this X-ray on it, but I wasn't paying attention to it. And I remember one day, I looked down at my legs, and I looked at the X-ray light board thing, and I looked back down my legs, and I realized that the X-ray was in the shape of my legs, or the legs I had, and then I realized that this whole time they've been talking about me, and it was my development and how my legs were developing, and how I was growing, if I needed artificial limbs, how I was crawling, all the stuff, right, that when someone has no legs, people might want to think about. And that was the first time I realized it was all about me. But the point is, my mom and my dad, to my knowledge, never had to pay for any of that, never had to pay for my artificial limbs, never had to worry about any of those things. And then later on in life, like when my mom had cancer and was, quite sick and was going to be dying, the idea that there could be a bill that comes with that, I mean, that just strikes me as immoral, right? So, my mom, I'm not saying that she got the greatest care in the world. I don't know what the greatest care in the world would look like. I'm always assuming that people can do better. But whenever I visited her in the hospital or in the care home she was at, or, whenever it was, I was always very grateful for the care that she received. Her, doctors and nurses, and, again, I don't know, would it have been possible for her to receive better care? Maybe, I have no idea, but the care that she got always looked to me to be good and decent, and the people cared about her and wanted her to be as comfortable as she could be, and wanted her to recover as best that they could. So I'm not a big fan of people knocking the healthcare system. I'm not saying there aren't issues with it. I'm sure there are, but as someone who has both needed it quite frequently and had family members who've needed it, I have a hard time knocking it too much. Even a good friend of mine ended up. He always complained about the government. He hated the government, right? And he suffered a stroke. It's a miracle he's still alive. To be honest, it's absolutely a miracle he's alive, because he really should be dead right now, based on how significant the stroke was, and he wasn't found right away. Is the other thing, right? He was about, I think, it was almost like he had the stroke and he couldn't move, and I think it took like 12 hours for people to find him because it was in his apartment alone. Um, and there's no way he could afford the medical care he received, none at all. But they got to him, thank heavens. They got him to the hospital. It was touch and go for a bit, but they got him in the hospital, and he was able to make a recovery. He's still suffering some of the side effects a couple years later, but it's night and day what he was compared to what he is, and hopefully he'll keep on making progress. So. And I, as a Mason, and his brother, visited him every, not every day, but many days in a row, and saw his recovery and saw the doctors and nurses. And yeah, I guess this is a very long-winded way of me saying, I have a great deal of respect for the healthcare system in Canada. It's not perfect, but I've seen it do some miracle work for people who are struggling. Thank you, Texas. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's and prayers also for the doctors and nurses who had to work on my friend and tried to help him and try to get him, recovered once again. It's funny because I always say, when you're going to the hospital, a lot of times people, what they want to do is bring gifts for the person who's sick, which does make a lot of sense. But I would suggest, even more so than that, what you should do is bring gifts for the staff, right? bring gifts to the nurses and the doctors who are taking care of your friend, because I don't want them to be well fed and in a good mood when it comes to the care they're providing. So I'll bring something for the person who's sick, and then I'll bring something even bigger for the doctors and nurses, like a couple boxes of donuts or something, or even order them pizza. Welcome, Carl. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button, by the way. So yeah, that is. I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff. That does seem to be the issue with the healthcare system, which is if you need healthcare right away, like in Canada, right? I'm not saying as compared to other places. I'm just saying from what I've seen, which is if you need healthcare like right away, like you've had a stroke and you will die unless, then our healthcare system is great. If you are able to be relatively comfortable and have a comfortable life, but need some type of minor cares, you're going to be okay. Like, I once a year go to my doctor, get my blood work done, get tested, everything comes out okay, or if there's an issue here or there. But it's nothing that is like impacting my quality of life. It's just maintaining the good quality I have. The problem is, and I've known people who need knee surgery, need hip surgery, need whatever it is they need in terms of replacement, and have to wait forever and ever and ever to get it, right? And that is a problem, and that is an issue. But I think every healthcare system has its trade-offs, right? I mean, like I said, I remember talking to this one person from the States, and he was a big fan of the American healthcare system. He was a Mason, actually. And I said, well, what if you can't afford care? And he said, well, you'll get the bare minimum and you get kicked out. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He said, well, if you, like, let's say you are homeless, you have a heart attack, you show up in the emergency room, you'll be brought back to life, but you won't be kept, for any length of time, for any follow-up, for any medications, for anything like that. You'll just be kicked back out on the street. And I said, well, won't he just have another heart attack and be right back? And the gentleman said, well, but that's why he shouldn't be homeless, or that's why he should have health care or health insurance. And I was like, well, it's not just him who's dealing with this, though, because every time he shows up for a heart attack, doctors, nurses, staff need to try to treat him, need to try to care for him. And if he's showing up 4 or 5 times a year for medical conditions because they're not doing any preventative care, they're just treating and releasing. It's not a healthy approach, right? Like, if my friend who had the stroke, and again, thank heavens, he had the stroke and then he had a heart attack. If they had just, but it was about, a couple years apart, if they had just treated him at the bare minimum level and then kicked him out because he didn't have health insurance, would he have had more issues? Would they have been more severe? Would he have been in the hospital for longer, the second or third time? So, it's like, the idea of you're sick, so we're going to make you pay for your treatment, or we expect you to pay for your treatment. I think we as a society should say if somebody's sick, we have a responsibility to try to care for them and ensure they receive decent care, and not have a bill associated with that. Which is also, though, why I always argue on this stream, and I try to be hypocritical about this, though I'm not the best, is, I think people, but I'm going to say we as Freemasons specifically have a responsibility to also care for our own health, right? We should be trying to eat well. We should be trying to exercise regularly. We should be going to our doctors. We should be getting vaccinated. We should be, listening to medical advice. We should exercise, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever it is, as much as we can. I don't expect a 92-year-old to be running marathons or training like a 25-year-old. That's silly. And nor do I expect someone, let's say they were born with I don't know what it is, cerebral palsy or something, to be training like a member of the NFL. But I expect everybody within whatever their limitations or challenges may be to figure out what they can do to make their health as good as it possibly can be, and then to try to do those things. Again, all within reason. again, my biggest Achilles heel. I don't even have heels, by the way, but my biggest Achilles heel is food. I'm the worst at eating well, um, and also drinking water. I've gotten better at the water. I do exercise fairly regularly. I just had a great workout yesterday, and I'm feeling it. But you know, you know, I think that we as a Freemasons, we should set an example, and we should try to set an example of being healthy, exercising regularly, all that good jazz. I think that stuff's important. So that's a very we kind of went off topic, but nonetheless, that is my view on the healthcare system. There was this joke that Breaking Bad could never have happened if it was set in Canada, because Walter White would have gone, found out he has cancer, and then would have just got treated, and never would have started selling meth to fund his medical treatment. So something to be said for that. Oh, we are only human. Nobody, and I don't expect everybody to be perfect by any means. Like I said, my struggle is with the food thing. I'm not the best at that by any means. And drinking water, I'm not very good at. But I did drink 8 glasses yesterday. I'm going to drink 8 glasses again today. So hopefully I can get a little bit better. Welcome, Carl. I hope you're doing well. Stick to water, Carl. Be healthy. Stick to water. And please hit that like button and, share this stream with other people. All that good jazz. Do all that stuff that you can do to help other people find the stream. I would truly, truly appreciate it. We're going to start on our main topic in about 20 minutes, give or take. Hit that like button in the interim and let me know how it's going. How's it going, Buddy Cole? How is life in Utah? If I recall correctly, it's Utah, right? Yeah. Good for you, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. I think that's awesome. Good for you. I have a major sweet tooth, so stopping sugar is a very good thing. So good for you. I hope you'll keep us informed on how it's going, and I hope that it goes well for you. Okay. I hear there's some really good ones and some not so good ones. I guess my advice is always talk to your doctor about which supplements you're taking. But still, good. Good for you. Let me know how that goes as well and how your journey goes. Because I always love to hear people saying they're going to try to take their health more seriously. Again, this is part of this is a do what I say, not as I do situation, because I'm not the best at it, but I at least try to exercise regularly and wheel around a lot and take my medications and etc., etc. Well, that's one way to do it, Carl. Oh my gosh, Buddy Cole, I'm so sorry. We had a few of those days recently, but today and the last couple of days, it has been insanely beautiful. Like I went out today, it was gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. I almost needed a sweatshirt. And after a few days of what felt like dying of heat stroke, not literally, but I definitely felt like I do not do heat, and I was not enjoying myself. It feels wonderful. It's funny, when I was at the Windsor Hip Hop Festival, it was like, oh my gosh, what was it now? I'm trying to think. It was like 102 degrees or something crazy, but there was it was in the field. There was no sun. No shade. I forgot to bring a tent because I'm foolish. So I got a massive sunburn, but what's worse is all my equipment kept overheating. So my cell phone overheated twice or something. So every time I tried to do a stream, it ended up interesting, shall we say. But I still had fun. Yes, there are. There's actually a couple of Utah Masons who even join this stream now and then, which I really appreciate. I'm actually going to talk about something, Buddy Cole, in I don't know how long you're sticking around for. If you can stick around for 15 minutes, I'm going to be talking about something that I think could be beneficial to a lot of Freemasons, but especially those Freemasons who are part of either larger Masonic lodges or Masonic buildings um, that have a lot of lodges a part of it. Basically, large member organizations. Yeah, we got some Texas Freemasons, we got some Utah Freemasons. It's great to have the combination. We got some Manitoba Masons, we got an Ontario Mason. I was also saying earlier today, earlier in this stream, that I had the pleasure of almost getting scammed. I got a scam email. It was super, like, it was the most professional looking scam email I've seen thus far. So, just be on the lookout for all that stuff. Every holiday season, I put something up on my socials, just warning people, saying like, "Hey, by the way, be very, very careful about scams." Because we have a lot of older members. I know some actually Masons who have fallen for scams in the past. But yeah, just be careful with that stuff. It's legit. It can be obviously it can look really legitimate. So you just need to be careful. Um, I've got to make my way down to Utah. I've been through Utah. I was through Utah. I was through Utah on the California Zephyr, which was awesome. I loved past. It was beautiful state. Honestly, one of the most beautiful states I've ever seen. But um, I've never had the chance, unfortunately, to visit any Masonic lodges in Utah, and I 100% want to. I cannot wait to do so. So like I said, Buddy Cole, if you stick around for another 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be jumping on the stream. I'm going to be talking about, a specific thing. I'm talking about a gentleman by the name of Kevin Ashton, who I have talked about in the past, and why I think he could be of benefit to Freemasonry, or his ideas anyways, or his journey. I will do my best to not go anywhere. I think I should be around. Normally, these streams last a bit, so take your coffee break. Absolutely. Where is Verno located? I will look it up for sure. I've never seen it before. Okay, by the way, right now Texas is an EA, but again, you can still go and just make sure you tell them in advance at Ashley Lodge number 20 that you're an EA so they know. But that would be awesome if you were to visit them. Like I said, we showed off all of my Masonic coins, pins, all that good jazz, and so hopefully you can start a collection of your own. August 29th. By the way, Old Dominion's coming to Caesars Windsor, and what I want to do is invite them to the Windsor Masonic Temple. Every time we have any celebrities coming to Caesars Windsor, I invite them to the Windsor Masonic Temple. So far, no luck, but I'm always trying. I'm hoping eventually I'll get them to join. If you are just joining us, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how it's going, and let me know if there's anything that you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. Positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to start on the main topics of today's discussion, which is going to be first Kevin Ashton, And second, my story regarding, from Medium, regarding Steve Jobs. And we got 14 votes. Do you follow Freemasons on Medium? Yes, 43%, no, 57%. Let's get those yeses up there a little bit higher. Let's get some more people following us on Medium. That would be very, very much appreciated. And if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, I'd love to hear them. Even when I start on my main topic, I would still love to... I would still very much love to, stop my main topic and focus on your questions. That is something I really, really enjoy doing, is taking the time to kind of to answer people's questions. I think that is really, really, that's what I love about this format the most, honestly, is getting questions from people and being able to answer them and talk about them. Because, it makes me a better Mason to have, especially if people have negative views of Freemasonry, to be able to respond to those questions. Well, I mean, Steve Jobs, he was the CEO of Apple Computers, or before that, he was the founder of it. I think he was a decent, I'm not saying he was the greatest of all time. I don't think that, but I think he had a lot of really, really good ideas. Certainly, he was able to accomplish a lot. I've never bought this whole argument that, the CEOs don't accomplish anything. It's all the people underneath. Especially because, without, Steve Jobs, it's not as though Steve Jobs came into a company already running and just kept it going. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who, by the way, Steve Wozniak is a Freemason, kind of founded Apple Computers from nothing, right? It didn't exist before them. And even this whole argument of, well, he didn't write code. He didn't write code, but he had in my opinion, an incredibly prolific, or not even prolific, an incredibly intuitive understanding of the way humans interacted with technology, or the way human beings would want to interact with technology. And I think that was a very good skill. I think he had a lot of business skills and leadership skills that potentially can apply to Freemasonry. There's no guarantee. Every business does that, right? What does a restaurant do except take our money and turn it into their money, right? Restaurants provide us with food. Steve Jobs provides us with the iPhone. So such is the nature of business, right? If you're going to build computers, you're going to want to sell it for a bit of money. Well, that's true. But at the start, Steve Jobs was neither of those things, right? Steve Jobs was, I think, just a board. What was he? Just a board member? Because initially it was Mike Markkula who was the CEO. And then obviously Scully, and that was the famous kind of the famous Apple battle. And so, yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think, like I said, we should be willing in Freemasonry to take good advice from everywhere and anywhere, even including the janitor. But, I think Steve Jobs, it's worth exploring how we can learn from some of these people. So, but in 5 minutes, the first thing I'm going to start talking about, no, he passed away. Because he did make a lot of mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes he made is he had cancer, diagnosed with cancer, and for whatever reason, he decided he was not going to get surgery or, fix it, quote unquote, traditional ways. He decided for some reason, instead, he was going to, I guess, use carrot juice or do a bunch of stuff where he was going to I don't even understand. He was going to just use a lot of like whole foods and fruit diets and stuff to try to cure his cancer, which obviously didn't work. But the fact that he delayed it for that long meant that he passed away. So don't take everything from him. And a lot of these things you're going to talk about are double-edged swords. For every good thing there is, there's also a not so good thing that comes with it. You need to be really careful about that. Welcome. If you're just joining us, please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know how it's going, what you want to chat about. We're going to jump on and start talking about our main subject in, I guess, 2 or 5 minutes or 4 minutes as of right now. But he was definitely the visionary. I mean, one of my favorite movies, we might still be on the chat, but we wouldn't be, certainly technology would not be as nearly as ubiquitous as it is now, for better or worse. So, you know, the one of my favorite movies is Steve Jobs, the not in a biopic, but the Aaron Sorkin movie. Aaron Sorkin written movie directed by Danny Boyle, if I recall correctly. I thought it was really, really impressive. So, yeah, I was a big fan of the Steve Jobs movie, and I think it gave a lot of interesting ideas or ideals. He did, which probably was not the best approach. I'm not a big fan of quote unquote holistic medicine. I'm not a doctor myself, so I'm not going to pretend like I have every good answer. But I think it's a shame because obviously we want him to still be with us if he could be. That's true for everybody. You hate to see somebody pass away unnecessarily. No, I mean, except for the idea that, again, as he made technology more ubiquitous, one of the consequences of that was it opens the door for AI, for example. He was like in the 1980s. There's videos of him saying, I think it was in 1983. There's a video of him saying, and it's crazy, of him saying that he wanted to create a laptop or create a computer that was the size of a book. And he pulled out a book like this, and he opened it up, and he said he wanted computers to be able to, you open it just like a laptop, and you have a screen and a keyboard attached. I don't know if he was the first one to think of this as an idea, but I thought it was absolutely incredible that he was, thinking of that at a time when nobody else was. So, credit to him for that and for thinking of those things. I forget what type he had, but this is why I'm always saying too, when I say be healthy, and I do mean be healthy, that means a lot of different things. Sometimes that means listen to sometimes it means exercise and eat well, which he did, but that also sometimes means listen to your doctor and listen to what your doctor is telling you. And don't be afraid to, and because yes, Steve Jobs ate healthy. He, I think he exercised or a little, whatever it is. He certainly wasn't working hours that were conducive to being healthy, but he was also the CEO of 2 major companies. But you can't cure everything through carrot juice. Do you know what I mean? It's more than that. So just for whatever it's worth, keep yourself, listen to your doctors. But I do hope everybody is doing well. Please take a moment, if you're not done so yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I hope that you are doing well. And please let me know if there's anything you want to talk about. And we are going to start on our main subject, which is going to be, or first of two main subjects, which is going to be our friend and yours, Old School Kevmo. So otherwise known as, he's known as Old School Kevmo on YouTube, I believe as TikTok as well. But his name is Kevin Ashton, and he is a chef. He used to work in a restaurant. He now works in a sorority house. And you may be asking yourself, what does working in a sorority house as a chef have to do with being a Freemason or with Freemasonry? Well, let me tell you. And I'm going to kind of go through this article. This article was in People magazine. Which came out August 24th. So it came out yesterday, 3 p.m. I've talked about this on the stream before, by the way. As a restaurant chef, Kevin Ashton was used to cooking for crowds, but nowadays his clientele looks a little different. Ashton is the chef for Pi Beta Pi chapter at the University of Nevada, Reno, cooking for nearly 30 sorority girls every week. Ashton tells people he prepares 9 meals each week, 4 dinners and 5 lunches, one of which is usually a big brunch spread for the girls on Fridays. I have a budget and I break it down for those 9 meals and go shopping. I shop every day because it's easier for me because every meal is so different. Every morning on my way to work, I stop, pick up the ingredients I need, and I go in and I cook food and I do my videos. And the next day we just start from fresh again. Stop at the store, pick up everything I need. While Ashton prefers to do his shopping the day of, he has to plan his daily menu in advance, giving the girls a chance to give him feedback. They also have the option of choosing an alternative meal, like a burger or a salad, if they don't like what's on the menu that day. There's always something to eat, he says, noting that he has come to learn which meals are hits in the house and which ones people tend to skip. After a couple of weeks, I started to learn that someone skips spicy food or loves salad and never eats meat. It helps me write the menu more geared towards everybody, he says. I pay attention to them. Ashton even has a suggestion box for the girls in the house, ensuring that he is catering to their taste buds. However, most of his meals are crowd favorites and people tend to request dishes that he's already made for them in the past. Before working in the sorority, Ashton was a restaurant chef for over 3 decades, working at an Italian restaurant for 20 years. Before that, he worked at a brewery, a butcher shop, and a steakhouse. So why do I bring this up? Well, as the Masons on this channel may know, Courtney, others may know, we in Freemasonry have what's called a junior warden. The purpose of that junior warden is to ensure that there is or are refreshments available for the membership either before a meeting or after a meeting, or in some cases both. A lot of lodges are now moving towards an before lodge meeting, before lodge dinner and then after lodge desserts or snacks. So you're seeing a greater and greater and greater amount of both of these things. However, we are also experiencing a time when people, as a general rule, are busier, right? They have more on the go, and even junior wardens are less inclined to be willing to put the work in to ensure everybody gets a meal, or the meals themselves are not going to be anything special. It might just be, for example, coffee and donuts, or whatever it might be. Maybe ordering pizza, which can be expensive. So what are some things we can do, right? You have to, because you're trying to combine a lot of different things at first. When you're a junior warden, you're trying to ensure that you're coming in on some type of budget, so you're not spending all the lodge's money on green beans and Freemasonry go hand in hand. Rhonda, I'm going to tell this story, then I'm going to get back to my point. I once went to event in Chicago. Chicago, not Chicago, it's West Chicago. So about 30 minutes, 45 minutes away from Chicago in this little small Masonic building that used to be a movie theater, which was really, really cool. The Anyway, so I go, and the reason I went there is because they were having a Thanksgiving dinner, a Thanksgiving celebration at the lodge, and everybody had to, was cooking something. So I get there early, and I say, look, I didn't bring anything, but if you want, I can cook something for you guys, or if you're working on anything, just tell me what you're doing and how I can help. And they said to me, can you make the green bean casserole? And I said, sure. So I made a green bean casserole, and you know what? I'm going to say it. It was pretty great. So just deal with that, everybody. It was pretty delicious. Um, so yeah, I made a green bean. I also made the deviled eggs. We should. People would lose their minds, Rondo, because every second Mason, when he's talking, is saying how much he hates green bean casserole. Like everything is just a complaint about green beans. But we should. They do a lot of chili cook-offs. What I find is within Freemasonry, the most common type of the most common type of like cooking competition you see is chili cook-off. So, anyways, Junior Warren, you have to, aside from the personal responsibilities you have, work, family, that you are juggling, you have to then juggle the needs of the lodges. That includes, do we have, the dietary restrictions that the members may have? Do you have any vegetarians? Do you have anybody who has food allergies, who can't eat X, who can't eat Y, because they may die? You also have to think about your budget and not spending too much or too little to keep the guys happy. You also have to think about the quality of food. Do you want to try to give them healthy food? Unhealthy food doesn't matter. You also have to think about are there any requirements as it relates to food services? Do you need to get, for example, food service handler certification? Is it worth it, even if you don't need it, to just have it so you have the professional capacity to be able to serve food and know that you're serving it safely? So, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these things you have to balance, right? A lot of junior wardens, I think, are getting to the point where they're not willing to balance those things, or they're not interested in balancing those things. But who else also must balance those things? Kevin Ashton, in his sorority house role. As he says, he has to cook 9 meals for 30 people each week, 4 dinners and 5 lunches. He has to consider the budget, right? He has a budget and he has to break it down between each of those 9 meals. He has to shop for the ingredients within that budget. He has to think about what do the people want to eat, right? He has to say, so there's always something to eat, but he's planning the daily menu in advance. He's giving the people he's cooking for a chance to give him feedback and also choose alternative meals. So I've been in situations where they create, the junior warden creates a meal, doesn't think to provide any vegetarian options, and the vegetarian just doesn't eat, and the vegetarian is kind of upset by that. Or I've been to lodges where there's one type of meal and it's got pork in it, and the Jewish, observant Jewish person just doesn't get to eat, right? Ashton has to think about, of the 30, are there any alternatives I need to make for vegetarians, for vegans, for dietary restrictions? He even has a suggestion box for the girls in the house, ensuring he is catering to their taste buds and taking requests. So I don't know what this guy's budget is, per year, if he's cooking 9 meals a week for the school year. But let's imagine for a moment, I'm just going to pull out a calculator. Or Muslim brothers. Very good point, Rondo. So let's imagine the typical Masonic lodge holds 2 meetings per month. And let's assume they have a break over the summer, like they do in Ontario, right? So that's 20 meetings per year. Let's assume you pay a professional chef $500 per meal to come in and prepare a meal for the lodge. So that's $10,000 within a year. And let's assume as well, you give him a budget of, $200 per meal. But that's because he's buying the food fresh and he's cooking it. He's buying in bulk. He's not ordering pizzas or buying pre-made food, which is more expensive. He's buying in bulk. He's buying, whatever it is, and he's cooking it himself. So 200, I would think, would more than cover that if he's preparing it himself and just buying the ingredients and doing the cooking, right? So 200, again, times, you probably do it for 20 meals equals, so basically that's $14,000 per year. Let's assume you have 100 members of your lodge. So that's $140 on top of what you're already paying in dues. But in response to that, you get a professional chef coming in twice a month to prepare meals for the entirety of your lodge membership, right? What he could do is, in that case, the junior warden, he becomes responsible for communicating between that chef and the lodge. So he's responsible for telling the people in lodge, this is the meals that the chef has planned out for the year. He can do an entire yearly menu, right? This is the menu he's planned out. If there's something on this menu you can't eat or don't want to eat, let me know in advance and I will advise the chef and he'll make some changes. If there's anything you want to see on the menu that you don't see, let me know and I'll see what he can do. You basically become responsible for communicating back and forth, which is a much easier job likely for the junior warden. And the chef himself becomes responsible for actually providing the food. And again, if you have a chef here who can provide 9 meals in a week for a group of 30 people, and each one of those people may have their own unique, their own very unique dietary restrictions, as well as their own unique allergies. He has to do so within a budget as set by the sorority house, and he has to do so while communicating to the sorority house what he's going to be having, and also be able and willing to take feedback and provide a menu for the same. Would that not result in a more enjoyable lodge experience than if it were the case that relying on a volunteer, a junior warden, and even more so, the junior warden does not provide, letting you know in advance what you're getting. In this case, you could have a chef provide a yearly menu. You're publishing it in the summons. You're letting the lodges know. Maybe, people look at that and go, well, I really want to make it to lodge this time because, they're serving some type of special pancake breakfast for dinner with some type of fancy French toast, and I really want to eat that, so I'm going to make sure to be there. As opposed to, I have no idea what the food is going to be, and what if it's not good, so I'm just not going to show up. To know that there's a vegetarian option for you, to know that there's a pork-free option available for you, right? I think all this stuff really matters. And again, yes, it's $140 per year extra if your lodge has 100 members, but think about that. You're spending $140 per year, and as a consequence of that, you are getting restaurant, a chef or a professional chef giving restaurant quality food to you at least two of your meetings. And honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but there are some lodges that probably spend 14 grand a year on food anyways, in some cases, some of the fancy ones. That's true, but even for you, Dad, like imagine if so you get a summons, and in that summons there's a menu, and the menu says after the meeting or before the meeting, we will be serving, let's give an example of a type of food that Kevin Ashton has served um, in the lodge. Um, we are going to be serving penne alla vodka for 30 members with a salad and garlic bread and drinks. So that's the menu. It's been announced, and you know that it's a professional chef who's going to be preparing it. But he also says if you do not want to eat this pasta for whatever reason, contact the junior warden who will advise the chef that instead of the penne alla vodka, you want something different, and you need there to be alternatives present. Um, right? And you have the menu for the whole year, and you know that when you're going, there's a professional chef who's going to be preparing the food for you, and it's going to be plated meals for, let's say, 30 people in total, right? Um, I feel like for a lot of Masons, they would be more likely to want to attend if they know that there's this, food is available, they know what it is, they know that they can, get something different, so they know that they're not going to run into an issue of no vegetarian options, no non-pork options for Jewish or Muslim brothers, vegetarians, and they know that it's being prepared. They know the budget, they know who's doing it, they know, like I said, they know it's a professional chef doing it, right? I think most Masons would be willing to pay $140 a year on top of their normal dues for that, and be more likely to come to lodge as a consequence, right? As opposed to you show up, who knows what you get, and who knows um, whether it's going to be something you can eat. And again, if you're a vegetarian and you show up to lodge and there's no vegetarian options, are you likely to come again? Whereas if you're a vegetarian and you in advance contact the junior warden and say, I need to make sure there's a vegetarian option, and the junior warden contacts the chef and does so. Yeah, so the junior warden is basically the refreshment officer. He's the person who's responsible for ensuring that there are refreshments or after before or after a lodge. Many times now lodges are having refreshments before the lodge and then desserts after. But again, it's a very tough job because first of all, your typical junior warden is balancing his junior warden and Masonic commitments along with his employment commitments and um, family commitments. So that makes it very tough. And if you have a Mason who, let's say, he works every day until 6:30 or 7, and he needs to get to lodge to 7:30, you might very well be getting a box of donuts and coffee for your refreshments because that's all he has time to pick up. Or he may be ordering in catering food, but that could be crazy expensive. Because aside from dealing with work, family, Masonic commitments, and junior warden commitments, he also needs to uh, balance out the specific junior warden commitments requirements. So he needs to think about, okay, what are the dietary restrictions present within a lodge? Am I making sure I have vegetarian options, halal options, whatever it might be available? He needs to think about allergies. Are there any Masons who have food allergies of some sort, whatever they may be? And am I making sure I'm not putting anybody at risk? He needs to think about the budget of the lodge, right? Because again, you can get fancy food that everybody will enjoy, but it will cost you an arm and a leg. Or you can go basic food like sandwiches, but will be people complain it's too basic. So you need to stick within the budget, and you need to communicate to the membership um, what is on the menu, right? And I've known, and I've been one of them. I've been a junior warden or the equivalent in Scottish Rite 5, 6 times. It's been miserable every single time. Um, because it's always something. What if you were to create a system where, hello, Ryan, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Where again, you say for 2 meals, 2 meetings for the 10 months the lodge meets, we're going to pay a professional chef $500. You can't always make sure, Rondo. It's a good idea. We're going to pay a chef $500 to come in, along with $200 budget for the food, and he is going to be responsible for making the refreshments. He has to provide the junior warden at the start of the Masonic year, so let's say in August, with the menu for the entire year, so 20 meals. The meal itself along with the sides. He has to, welcome back, Mr. Keeps on Ticking. He also has to provide alternative options. So if he's providing a meat dish, what are the vegetarian options, etc., etc. And the junior warden's job is now not so much the actual preparing of the food, right? Rather, it is communicating or liaising between the chef and the lodge. So the junior warden would be responsible to send out the menu for the year to all the Masons. The junior warden would be responsible for making sure that if somebody needs some type of alternative or has a dietary restriction or has a whatever it might be, he lets the chef know. He also, if a meal goes over particularly well or particularly poorly, that he communicates that to the chef so the chef knows, right? All of that stuff he could do. Because again, if you can have a chef do 9 meals for 30 people every week, you can have a professional chef do 2 meals for 30 people every month, with all the other things still applying. I mean, I tried for a minute to not be a full-on vegetarian, but to, eat way more vegetables and way less meat. Sadly, though, I'm not the best at that because I do love meat. For me, seafood. I think I could do without most types of meat. Honestly, I enjoy chicken. I like beef. I like pork, but I don't like it more than other types of food per se, or vegetables. But when it comes to seafood, I cannot live without seafood. It is, which is why we need some professionals in there. I'm talking about potential ways that we can bring in or involve professional chefs to cook for our Freemasons instead of relying on a junior warden to prepare the food. And again, the example I always give is, and you can find him online on YouTube, on TikTok, a guy called Old School Kevmo or Kevin Ashton. I think some vegetarians do, but I don't think they'd call themselves vegetarians. Right, I'll go through this one more time, though I think most of us have heard it. And by the way, if you're just joining us, please hit that like and subscribe button. As a restaurant chef, Kevin Ashton was used to cooking for crowds, but nowadays his clientele looks a little different. Ashton is a chef for the Pi Beta Phi chapter at the University of Nevada, Reno, cooking for nearly 30 sorority girls every week. Ashton tells people he prepares 9 meals each week, 4 dinners and 5 lunches, one of which is usually a big brunch spread for the girls on Fridays. I have a budget and I break it down for those 9 meals and go shopping. I shop every day because it's easier for me. Every meal is so different. Every morning on my way to work, I stop, pick up the ingredients I need, and I go in and I cook food and I do my videos. And the next day we just start fresh again, stop at the store, pick up everything I need. While Ashton prefers to do his shopping the day of, he has to plan his daily menu in advance, giving the girls a chance to give him feedback. They also have the option of choosing an alternative meal, like a burger or salad, if they don't like what's on the menu that day. There's always something to eat, he said, noting that he has come to learn which meals are hits in the house and which ones people tend to skip. After a couple of weeks, I started to learn that someone skips spicy food or loves salads and never eats meat. It helps me write the menu more geared towards everybody. I pay attention to them. Ashton even has a suggestion box for the girls in the house, ensuring that he is catering to their taste buds. However, most of his meals are crowd favorites and people tend to request dishes he's already made for them in the past. Well, I think pescatarians eat only fish or eat exclusively fish, which I don't know. I think eating anything exclusively is probably not healthy for you, you know? I think eating exclusively anything is probably not healthy. I think probably the most healthy approach, this is just my opinion, talk to your doctor, would be a variety of foods. Mike, well, I'm not a Trump fan myself, but hey, you do you, I suppose. I just got to say, I've never been a big fan of him. I have eaten bugs in the past, Mike. I've eaten ants. I ate chocolate-covered ants and chocolate-covered grasshoppers. Uh, they were pretty good. They were not bad at all. So I think it's fine. We can eat bugs. It's a good source of protein. I once heard somebody talking about and complaining and saying like the government wants us to eat bugs or something. It's like, well, why not? Bugs strike me as probably being an incredibly efficient and sensible thing to farm, right? They're famously um, crickets and mealworms, right? They're famously hardy creatures. They don't get sick the way mammals get sick, right? So you can have cows and you get it with like mad cow disease, um, um, or chickens get hoof and mouth or whatever it is, right? As a rule, cockroaches, mealworms, bugs, ants, they're famously very tough immune systems. They don't get diseases the way other animals do, which means if you're farming them, you don't have to worry about that. They're not near as resource dependent as, let's say, cows or chickens. You don't need near as much land to farm an equivalent amount of protein. One cow takes up, I forget what it is that, one cow needs so many acres to survive, where an equivalent number of ants or whatever it is in terms of protein don't need near as much. Um, So, and they don't taste bad to me. So I don't know. I'm never one of those people who automatically thinks when he hears, farming bugs that it's a bad thing. I don't get the big deal. Think why not give it a shot? Maybe it's something worth exploring. I mean, it'd be harder to make a meal out of them, Buddy Cole. But by the way, Buddy, what do you think of what I was talking about, of lodges bringing on private chefs to cook their meals for them? And what you could even do is if you have a Masonic building where, let's say, you have 10 lodges meet, each with, 100 members or something, each lodge chips into a special fund, and the professional chef works not for the lodge, but for the building itself. And let's say you have a Masonic meeting each night. He's there each night preparing meals, not a lunch per se, but he's preparing a dinner each night for the entirety of the lodge, right? Or the lodge that's meeting that night. You're not wrong. Money is short, but I think lodges could potentially afford. Again, in my experience, lodges will pay for something if they think that there's a benefit to it, or if they think that it's going to help them out, right? I think that is the issue. So, um, what would you say is the um, like the process by which they hire them? So, for example, do the professional chefs, are they on contract where they're there for every meeting? Are they coming in for special meetings? Um, what is the actual like? What is the actual kind of approach that they're taking? Um, to having them, right? And is it that the professional chef is providing, the menu in advance so people know what's going on? Like, what is the process? I'd be really curious to know if you know how it works. Um, are they, providing multiple meals? Like, what's the approach? I'd love to hear it. I think you would have to make a contract of some sort. You'd have to make the contract either in, um, how would I put this? You have to make the contract either like a one-off thing, and every time there's a new contract, or make a yearly contract. I would think making a yearly contract would potentially um, help in terms of like discounts. So a professional chef might say, if you're going to do me one meeting at a time, a contract, I will, gonna charge you $1,000 or something crazy because there's no job security. But if you know it's a yearly contract and you're guaranteed 20 times, they may charge 500. They may even charge, $300 for, 3 hours worth of work is not bad by any means. Do you know what the name of that lodge is? That is really cool. I mean, I've never heard of that, but that is fancy. Well, I mean, there's a few. We have one Mason. I mean, and you might think to yourself, well, um, if we have a Mason who is a chef himself, is it is it worth it as well, right? So that is something that we could do as well. So that would be really cool to check out and try it. Where if you are a lodge and you have a professional chef, why not pay the professional chef in order to have him come out, and then again the junior warden, he becomes the go-between. He becomes the communicator between the two, as opposed to anything else. I think that would be really cool and worth exploring. I'm going to look this up. Oh, there's some work happening above me. Hope it's not too loud. Vegas 32, an old Masonic lodge as well. Masonic Lodge. Was I here before? I think I was at this building before. Never, not for that lodge. I think I was there for the Nevada Lodge of Research, I think. But the fact that when you say they lease the property that the MGM Casino in Las Vegas is built upon, they have scholarships, it looks like. They have coffee with Freemasons every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Which is really cool as well. I'm trying to figure out their dates of when they are meeting. About Us. Oh. Here's the calendar. Let's see if I can access it. Actually, they have an annual barbecue coming up, August 29th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you for sharing that. That is really, really cool. So anyways, I think, again, because people seem to, or at least are arguing whether they do or not, I guess you can decide for yourself, but people seem to be having less and less time to deal with their Masonic commitments, and that includes junior wardens. And since a junior warden already takes a busy person and makes him busier, and since the issues that are faced by a junior warden are the same issues that would be faced by a professional chef who is cooking for a large group of people. I think investments in professional chefs make a lot of sense for Freemasons. And if you look at it, you look at what Kevin Ashton has accomplished. I mean, if you go to YouTube, so he's got over 4 million followers on TikTok. If you go to YouTube, he has got, let's see, old school Kevmo has got 1.43 million subscribers. His most, so he's, crushing me, obviously. His most recent video from 1 month ago, Dim Sum, has 51,000 views. His cooking videos from the sorority, 228,000 views, 563,000 views, 94,000 views, 94,000 views, 28,000 views, 146,000 views. So there's even opportunities to, turn your professional chef into a bit of a star. And I'm looking at getting a professional chef on my podcast to talk about because he was a junior warden. I talk about what he's working on when it comes to being a professional chef, Freemasonry, and advice he would have for a junior warden. Well, no, I'm trying to suggest that we as Freemasons consider using professional chefs in place of junior wardens. Yes, it would spend a little bit more money, but the junior warden could become a liaison between a professional chef and the lodge, and other civic and civil and fraternal organizations are moving towards using professional chefs. So, for example, the Pi Beta Phi sorority in Nevada is using a professional chef to cook all of their meals. 9 meals for 30 people every week, and you're seeing they're having a lot of success. The fraternity the sorority is doing very well, and also the chef who's doing it has become kind of a famous person or a legend. So does it make sense to try to combine and do the same things? I hope you guys will take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know how it's going, if there's anything that you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. So check out Old School Kevmo. Everything that he deals with as a chef for a fraternity, we are dealing with as a chef or as junior wardens. So I hope Masons will consider the same things. And honestly, yes, the lodges themselves may not have a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that the membership is in and of itself broke and might not have the ability to spend a few more bucks, doing some stuff. We are next going to be talking about Build Something Wonderful, which is a story I just published on Medium. I hope you guys will follow me on Medium as well as follow me, on all my other channels. I'm just going there to eat the food. That is exclusively why I'm going. I ain't going for any other reason. So I'll let you guys play the baseball and have the fun with that. I am going to be eating the delicious, delicious food. I believe Harmony may be ordering some pizzas for some people. So don't be sorry, I get to eat the delicious food. I'm just not going to be playing the baseball. I'm going to be eating some delicious food. That is good enough. I'm going to give it a few minutes. I'm just going to see who else joins. And also, I have to run to the washroom like crazy. So I'm going to do that in a second before I start on build something wonderful. But I do hope everybody is doing well. I am 6 subscribers. I can't hit a ball to save my. You need hips to hit a ball, right? The problem is a lot of people think, I'm super strong because I am super strong. No, a lot of people think like I'm super. People in wheelchairs will be really, really strong because we spend all of our time wheeling around, and that's true. It does develop muscles in the shoulders, in the arms, which I'm grateful for. But most people, like, especially if you're into, for example, if you're into martial arts or any type of sports, you'll know most of your power to throw a punch, to swing a baseball, to throw a ball. Most of your power comes from your hips actually, and the way you pivot and the way you torque. Very little power is generated in the upper body. It's all in the way you move your feet, the way you swivel your hips. That's why, so much of boxing, for example, is footwork, because it's not just about evading. There's also footwork that goes into being able to throw a decent punch, swinging a baseball, throwing a ball. It's the way you move your hips as much as anything else, as well as the way you plant your feet. So even throwing a baseball, I mean, hitting a ball, I'm sure I could hit it okay, but you got to be able to pivot. I did, and thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate it. I sent you my summons, I do believe. So I hope that you got that also. And welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about our second discussion very soon, which is going to be Freemasonry and Steve Jobs, build something wonderful. I am going to run to the washroom in a second though, because I got to take a quick break. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Let me know how it's going and if there is anything that you guys want to talk about. Positive, negative, or neutral. I would love to hear it. Honestly, though, I'm growing more a fan of baseball recently because I went to a couple of different baseball games recently, the White Sox and the Joliet Slammers. But baseball was never something I was a huge fan of. For me, growing up, it was always either football or professional wrestling. Now I don't even really follow football. It's really just professional wrestling. But I'm going to leave this here, and I will be back in a moment. This is my co-host. Treat him well. Be good to him. Please hit like and subscribe, by the way. I'm back. I made it back. Famous chef. Yeah, Dad's absolutely right, by the way. I'll talk about that briefly. One thing that I 100% agree with is if you are traveling, one thing that you can suggest is, oops, sorry, knocking over the thing, is talk to the secretary and ask, can I receive your lodge summons? And by the same token, can you potentially receive my summons? They talk to your secretary, right? The reason being, you will get ideas. You will get ideas of things that you can do in terms of your lodges. You will get ideas of things that can go well for you. Like, you will learn a lot of what other lodges are doing, and you can take those things and then apply them to your lodge. For example, maybe in a summons they talk about a special event they have coming up. You know, the beautiful thing about that is you can then bring that to your own lodge. And I've suggested this a million times as well. So many Masonic groups, organizations, bodies, they have free newsletters that are even available to the public that you can sign up for easy enough, without any issue. Like, it's awesome. So take a few moments to sign up for some of these free newsletters. You can get some from Masons of England, Masons of Idaho, Masons of California. And that way, especially if you're a worshipful master, you're going into the lodge offices, you're maybe an educational officer, and you want to get ideas for educational, like whatever it is you're trying to do, if you take a few moments to sign up for sign up for these newsletters, you will be absolutely better off. You'll be better able to explore Masonic ideas. You'll be better able to explore what's working well, what's not working well. You know, don't reinvent the wheel. There are some incredible and some amazing Masonic lodges out there doing some incredible things. If they're doing incredible things but no one else is learning about them, you're going to suffer from it. You need to, or you're not going to get all you can get from Freemasonry, and your lodge is not going to succeed as well as it can. You really need to ultimately rely on taking the time to learn from what others are doing and what others are learning well. Christopher Earnshaw, have I heard of him before? I think somebody else on the stream asked about him, but I don't think I read any of his work, so it's hard for me to say. Christopher Earnshaw. Freemasonry, spiritual alchemy, initiation. I think I heard of initiation by light once upon a time. I think someone brought that up to me. Spiritual alchemy. He's a university professor. He's on X. How's it going, Spirit? I hope you're doing well. Hit that like button. We're one like away from... I'm following him on X, actually. I've never got in touch with him yet. So I cannot say, other than he does look legit. Again, based... I guess he's in Tokyo. I guess just based on his X or Twitter profile. But that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. But Spirit, let me know how you're doing. I hope that everything is going well for you. We got some type of construction work happening outside, which is annoying. Hope it's not annoying everybody too much. Earnshaw. He goes by on Twitter. His name is Author Earnshaw at AuthorEarnshaw. And she follows me as well. That's nice of him. At least his name. So you guys can find it. So he's at Author Earnshaw. You can find that on X. He's a Masonic author, past Grand Historian, 33rd degree, university professor, author of the Spiritual Freemasonry series of books and YouTube videos. I wonder how many people he's got on the YouTube. Nice. What did you guys do? I'm trying to see if I can find him on... He also looks like he's a cellist. I mean, barely as relative to what, right? I don't know what the numbers off the top of my head. I wouldn't be surprised if York Rite had fewer members than Scottish Rite. And both York Rite and Scottish Rite have fewer members than Blue Lodge or Craft Lodge. Yeah, relative to Scottish, in my experience, that kind of fits. It has been my experience that there are less members in York Rite than Scottish Rite. Certainly that's true. 3.93 subscribers, okay. Certainly that's true in the case of my home in Windsor as well. So yeah, I think, but maybe if you join and you become Scott and become York Rite, you can in theory help turn that around. Who knows? I think it'd be awesome if to see you give it a shot. But I do hope everybody is doing well. Take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So let's go on to finally what I meant to get onto a little while ago, my medium story, which I've got here. Build Something Wonderful. On August 14th, 2025, David Senra, he is available, Founders Podcast on X, posted 78 notes based on his review of Make Something Wonderful. Make Something Wonderful, a 250-page book of Steve Jobs speaking to the reader in his own words. It includes Jobs' speeches, interviews, and correspondence. While not a Freemason himself, though Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak is a Freemason, Jobs' words provide ideas and perspectives on how we can best cultivate Freemasonry, and David Senra's notes effectively and clearly distills these words for the audience. Below, you will find David Senra's notes and our responses questions to the same. We hope these notes and our responses will encourage Masonic brethren to consider how we can build something beautiful, right? Freemasonry. Active shooter reported at University of Arkansas. I hope that just popped up on my screen. I'm curious. I'm going to go to CNN. I hope that's not the case. Let me see if that is current. I don't know. That just popped up on my screen. This was 6 minutes ago. This is from Fox 10 in Phoenix. Possible active shooter at the University of Arkansas, officials say. You know, it's funny. I wanted to go to Arkansas 2 years ago for an event they're having. The problem is um, the Masonic event they're having was in a really small town, and you could fly into like the main city in Arkansas, but then there was no way to get from the main city to the town without taking a taxi, which would have been crazy expensive. So, um, avoid, deny, defend. It is unclear if the active shooter reports have been confirmed or whether anyone has been shot. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said she's in touch with administrators at the university and is monitoring the situation. All right. Praying for campus, community, and first responders, as we all are. All right. Going back to this actual, what I was talking about. By the way, follow Founders Podcast on X and Medium. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He distills lessons from a variety of CEOs and founders, right? Not exclusively not exclusively Freemasons, or sorry, not exclusively Steve Jobs or technology, but he will review and study and learn about all sorts of founders, all sorts of CEOs, and then try to distill wisdom or knowledge from them and put that into, a form that others can potentially learn from or try to apply from within their own life. TSR. Well, TSR, I do not agree with you there. Freemasonry is not a sin. I know many Christian who are Freemasons. But let me ask you, TSR, why would you consider it a sin? I'm asking you, I do mean this genuinely, but what is it about Freemasonry that you would consider sinful, so I can better kind of know how to respond to it, right? So note number one, and all of these, when I say he, it's Steve Jobs. He didn't care about being right. He cared about being excellent. How many Freemasons argue with one another over a need to be right, and how many of these arguments detract from times Freemasons could and should spend focusing on becoming excellent at ritual and the administrative work necessary for the well-functioning and success of a Masonic lodge or body? His mind was never a captive of reality. How often do we, as Freemasons, fail to try to find something new because someone, perhaps a cranky past master, told us it wasn't realistic? Our ideas as to what is or isn't realistic holding Freemasonry back. The reason being, I just published these notes and my responses on Medium. And so I'm trying to get more people over to the Medium side of my work, otherwise the written content, as opposed to focusing on the videos, because I think I got a lot of good stuff on not to toot my own horn, but there's a lot of stuff I'm really proud of when it comes to my work on Medium. I think the written format allows me to examine items or examine thoughts in a little bit more advanced way that I don't get to do so when it comes to the video format. So I know I've already gone over this once before. I hope people don't mind me going over it a second time. And I hope people will consider potentially checking out and going to medium.com and finding Square and Compass there. Which again is, I think there's a lot of value in my written work. He said working with great people gives you access to wisdom you can't buy for love or money. My response: a Masonic lodge full of great people is a Masonic lodge full of wisdom. Are we, as Freemasons, adequately guarding our West Gate to ensure great people are being admitted therein? He believed technology should be streamlined and practical, simple and sophisticated, and should be a tool for enhancing creativity as much as productivity. A Masonic meeting is an opportunity to interact with our brethren. Are we, as Freemasons, ensuring our meetings are streamlined and practical, ensuring an efficient and productive use of our time? He believed you should ambush your customers, meet them where they are. Freemasonry does not have customers. Freemasonry does have members and potential applicants. Are we, as Freemasons, meeting both of these groups where they are, and ensuring you communicate with both groups in a manner that is effective and engaging. His ideas were not arguments but intuitions. He had a true inner freedom and an epic sense of possibility. Are we, as Freemasons, too afraid to listen to our intuitions, our gut feelings, when we know something about Freemasonry could be made better? He gave an extraordinary amount of thought to how best to use our fleeting time. Time is our most important resource. Are we as Freemasons ensuring the time spent in lodge is worth it, either in meetings or special events? By the time he was 30, he was the public face of a Fortune 500 company. Being the public face of a Fortune 500 company by the age of 30 seems impossible. Yet Steve Jobs did it. Are there any things that we as Freemasons think of as being impossible, but if achieved, would be amazing for Freemasonry and our communities? At Apple's first board meeting, he put his bare feet on a conference room table. I have no answer to that except dress codes matter. Don't show up to lodge in your bare feet. He said you should think of your life as a rainbow arching across the horizon of the world. You appear, have a chance to blaze in the sky, then you disappear. As noted above, time is our most important resource. Are we as Freemasons ensuring the time spent in lodge is worth it, either in meetings or special events? While we blaze in the sky, let us make the most of this time. He possessed unbelievable rigor that he imposed first and foremost strenuously on himself. Can we as Freemasons be as rigorous on ourselves as we are on our brethren? 12, he saw clearly, 1, what is not there, what could be there, what has to be there. My response, can we as Freemasons see clearly what is not in Freemasonry, what could be in Freemasonry, and what has to be in Freemasonry? He said early Apple employees were more like poets and painters than cold technologists, that the passion they put into their products were completely indistinguishable from other creative fields. He said their work is a form of love. Freemasonry is poetry. Freemasonry is art. Freemasons are artists. Are we, as Freemasons, putting the same level of passion into our Freemasonry that other artists, creators put into their fields? He had a verbal mastery that was obvious at a young age. He used simple, descriptive language, told stories, repeated lines, and ideas that are important. To be in a Masonic administrative position requires a great deal of communication to our membership. Are we, as Masonic administrators, ensuring that we communicate in clear, descriptive language that conveys the information necessary, and do repeat the important information as often as necessary? He thought it was inevitable that computers would be dominant medium of human communication. He said this in 1983. Can we, as Freemason, correctly assess future trends and prepare for these trends? He had a talent for spotting markets full of second-rate products. If the Masonic market is civic or civil organizations, what are we as Freemasons doing to ensure that Freemasonry is not a second-rate product therein? He said you could tell how important a product was based on the amount of times people spend interacting with it. As a result, he thought it was inevitable that more design talent would shift from the automobile to computers. He said this in the 80s. If time is our most important possession, then the best way to assess how important Freemasonry is to the average member is to note how much time the average member spends on, with, at Freemasonry. Do we, as Freemasons, know how much time the average member spends on, with, at Freemasonry? He said that books kept him out of jail and that it's a shame there are so many mediocre teachers. It's also a shame that there are so many mediocre Masonic mentors. What are we, as Freemasons, doing to ensure our membership has access to the strongest mentorship within our lodges and districts? Like many great entrepreneurs before him, welcome back, Smokey. I see the clown, so I know it's you. Steve knew what he wanted to do, but didn't know how to do it yet. He said he wanted to make an insanely great computer that was the size of a book. He described it sounded like an iPad. He said this in the 80s. Sometimes all we know is where we are currently and the final destination. We don't always know how to get from one to the other till we start moving. Are we as Freemasons allowing the not knowing to keep us in place? He believed that you should use your unique set of talents he believed you should use your unique set of talents to make things that make the lives of other people better. Most people just take. He said the ability to put something back into the pool of human experience is extremely neat. Freemasonry gives us the extremely neat ability to put something back into the pool of human experience. Are we taking advantage of this ability? He would tell his team, you work for Apple first and your boss second. He felt strongly about that. Do we as Freemasons understand that we are Freemasons first and members of our particular Masonic lodges or jurisdictions second? He was constantly placing the products he was making in a historical perspective, like comparing the Macintosh to the invention of the telephone. What historical perspective should we as Freemasons use to view Freemasonry in 2025? He believed you needed to give yourself more time to make mistakes, and said his taste got more refined as he made mistakes. He said that making mistakes over a long period of time makes aesthetics better. Mistakes are going to happen if, when you try something new, are we as Freemasons afraid to make mistakes? He said the key ingredient to making something great was time. Freemasonry is already great, as it should be after having existed for 300 years. However, it can always be made greater. Are we as Freemasons willing to take the time required, along with the effort, to build an even greater Masonic environment? He said he wanted to spend his life building things. He could have retired to a beach in his 20s and thought that was disgusting. We as Freemasons are craftsmen and builders. Are we using Freemasonry to build ourselves and our communities into stronger temples? He was interested in learning how to hone a company down to its essence. What is the essence of Freemasonry? And can anybody answer that? Like, I've given my answer before, right? To me, the essence of Freemasonry is the ability to fight for a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. If anybody in there could provide the essence of Freemasonry, what would you say it is? Sounds like to Ryan it is believe or belief, which is certainly one thing it very well could be. If anybody else has any thoughts as to what it could be, please let me know. By the way, still no word as to Arkansas, at least not on quote unquote any of the main sites. Oh, it looks like there is no evidence of an active shooter. Or looks like if there was one, there's been no shots or no injuries. So looks like might be a false alarm. But again, I have no idea for sure. I'm kind of just curious seeing what's showing up here. All right. Smokey the Clown. Well, I mean, based on maybe what you've been seeing here at this stream, if you had to guess what the essence of Freemasonry is, do you have any thoughts as to what you might guess it would be? Yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's, again, on my personal YouTube channel at 12 p.m. So on the 29th, there will be no live stream from Square and Compass Promotions, at least not the 1 p.m. one. There'll be a 1 a.m. live stream, but no 1 p.m. live stream. Yes, we'll be doing a 1 a.m. chill session tonight. Like I said, there'll be no specific topics for that one. It'll just be a hangout, relaxing stream. So, you read this book and a thought jumps out at you. How many people are willing to go through a decade of failure without quitting? Steve Jobs had the capacity to take pain. A failure isn't a failure so long as one keeps fighting. A success isn't a success as long as one quits. It's about not quitting. Are we as Freemasons willing to keep fighting through any Masonic failures we may face? He believed it was better to focus on what you're actually passionate about instead of what you think will make you the most money. He made the most money that way. Are we as Freemasons passionate about Freemasonry? Um, is that passion translating into focus on Freemasonry? He listened to older, wiser entrepreneurs and let them shape and mold his thinking. So that would be like Mike Markle, would be a good example of that. To what extent do we, as Freemasons, allow our older and wiser Masons to act as mentors? This needs to be balanced with allowing our younger and newer Masons to try new things and engage with new ideas. He wasn't afraid to fail, but had to coach himself to adopt that trait. He didn't want to fail, but he wasn't afraid of it. Are we, as Freemasons, too afraid to fail? He said, don't let your differentiation evaporate. What is Masonic differentiation? Are we, as Freemasons, allowing it to evaporate? Right? So what is it about Freemasonry that makes Freemasonry different than, let's say, most other civic groups or civic organizations? A lot of people, when asked that question, point to, or will say it's our ritual, which is a truth to that. Our ritual is something that is unique. It is not something that you find in really any other organization. But I think the danger is, if the ritual becomes something that is hollow, something that differentiates us, but is not being done with anything else in mind, is not being done in any other better ways, that's where the challenge is, right? We as Freemasons need to understand, how do I put this in the right way? I'm trying to think. Need to understand that it's not just about being different for the sake of being different. Like what I'm trying to think of the good example. I once saw this meme. It was a whole bunch of nails that were absolutely straight, like the nails are perfectly straight, and then one nail that was bent at, a 45-degree angle or whatever it is. And what they said was, this saying underneath was, just because you're different doesn't mean you're better or doesn't mean you're good, right? I think, yes, it's good to think about the differences between Freemasonry and other organizations, but don't assume that a difference is automatically a good thing, right? A difference is a good thing if it contributes something to the craft and if we as Freemasons use it to contribute something to both our own Masonic journey and the craft as a whole. So I think that is worth keeping in mind. So it's not just the ritual, right? He said, if you let your differentiation evaporate, the only solution is innovation. So even without the differentiation, is there room in Freemasonry for innovation? And what does that innovation look like? He believed great ideas don't map onto corporate hierarchy. Are there good Masonic ideas that do not map well onto Masonic hierarchies or structures? If this is the case, how can we as Freemasons adapt these ideas to work within the Masonic structure? He was incapable of thinking his work and his life were different, separate things. For Freemasonry to be a success, it must be part of one's life. Do we as Freemasons view Freemasonry as a different, separate thing from our lives, or do we view them as inseparable? He said the most important things in life are not the goal-oriented materialistic things. He said you should tap into the world's magical, mystical, and artistic sides. Right? Freemasonry is magic. Do we as Freemasons tap into the magical side of Freemasonry? He paid attention to subtle insights. He was guided by intuitions. Do we as Freemasons, where is it? Do we as Freemasons, do we listen to our Masonic intuitions? Do we as Freemasons trust our gut? He didn't believe in the concept of a career or think it was wise to follow well-worn paths laid out by others? Well, TSR, why do you think magic is demonic, right? Because if I use the term something is magical, like if I say, for example, today was a magical day, right? That doesn't mean it was magical in the sense of demonic. I probably meant magical as in the weather was beautiful, something to that extent, right? I wear large to extra large as a usual rule, right? I think that one thing we need to think about in Freemasonry is how we use the term magical, because there are some people who can perhaps take the wrong view of it. I tend to say, and I would think that when it comes to Freemasonry, and when I use the term magical, I would use magical much more in the much more in terms of a metaphor for just wonderful or very enjoyable, as opposed to kind of I guess how you seem to be describing it, which is demonic, right? But that's also, you see it a lot of times with Freemasonry, where they have this tendency, which I think is a shame, to, consider it kind of connected to the occult or that type of thing, right? Where when you say Freemasonry is occult, people take it in a negative way as opposed to just meaning has private things connected to it. Going back to the list once again, if I could get to it in 1 second. Oh my gosh. I guess I'll move aside from this for a moment to answer TSR's question. I mean, define ritual, or not even define ritual, sorry. Define being a part of. So, I mean, I have been the subject, if you want to call it that, of 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 14 Masonic rituals. So my entered apprentice degree, my fellow craft degree, my master mason degree. Then the installation ceremony, becoming the worshipful master of a lodge, is a ceremony in itself. Again, you can call it ritual, you can call it ceremony, you can call it degree. I'm using these terms interchangeably. So that's 4. Then I went through Lodge of Perfection, which was 3 degrees I went through. So I forget which ones they were now. The 4th was one of them. So 4, that's 7. And then with Lodge of Perfection, that's another 3. That's 2. So that's 9. And then I was installing master twice, so that'd be 11. And I went back to the East 3 more times, so 14. So I've been an active, I guess, or the subject of Masonic rituals or ceremonies 14 times. But I've attended and sat in the East or in the audience for, oh my gosh, hundreds of rituals at this point. Like, it's very hard for me to even imagine the number, because assuming every year I would see at least 5 or 6 degrees. And I've been a Freemason since 2007, so I guess that'd be about 100. So pick your term. 11 where it's kind of the center of the ceremony, and I've watched, visited, taken part in, done work in over 100 ceremonies altogether, though. So yeah, that would be the number. Never have I found them to be, I've never viewed them as being magical or special. I view them as being important because without those rituals, the bonds I have between me and my brothers would not be as strong, which I think is the purpose of it. I think the purpose of ritual throughout history has been the same thing. I mean, if you want to send them to me, sure. I'll never complain about free stuff. But honestly, I have so many shirts myself already that it's pretty crazy the number of shirts and clothing I already have. Um, so I'll go back to number 37. He didn't believe in the concept of a career or think it was wise to follow well-worn paths laid out by others. Freemasonry can be a career, but the career path is different for every Freemason. What is your Masonic career path? I am a Master Mason. I'm 18th degree, but Scottish Rite degrees, I don't focus on those. I am a third degree Master Mason, as well as a current Worshipful Master and a past Master as well. I've been an installing Master, but third degree, right? And usually I find a lot of people get it twisted with the degrees. They think that, a 33rd degree is 11 times greater than a third degree, which is not the case. When it comes to Masonic ritual, when it comes to Masonic hierarchies, quote unquote, there is no, like the third degree is the highest degree. That's the one that matters the most. He said most people make the mistake of not thinking about death. He said, for me, it's the opposite. To know my arc will fall makes me want to blaze while I'm in the sky. We know we will die. As noted above, our time is our most important resource. Are we as Freemasons ensuring the time spent in lodge is worth it, either in meetings or special events? While we blaze in the sky and before our arc falls, let us make the most of this time. He thought Walt Disney had a great idea, edit before you make it. We can't edit Freemasonry, but we can practice it. Are we, as Freemasons, spending enough time practicing our Masonic rituals? Remember the editing rule. Second draft equals first draft minus 10%. If you expect your Masonic business meetings to last 2 hours, try to reduce the duration to 1 hour and 45 minutes, or edit the duration. He said no amount of technology can turn a bad story into a good story. The story of Freemasonry is a good one. Are we as Freemasons doing enough to tell the story of Freemasonry to our membership and the community? He believed storytellers were the most powerful people in the world. We as Freemasons have the power to tell the story of Freemasonry. Are we using this power effectively, including through the use of technology? He believed if you didn't have great people, you were doomed. Are we as Freemasons adequately guarding our west gate to ensure it is great people being admitted therein? Or will we be doomed accordingly? All right, I need to run and grab some water quickly. Give me 1 second. All this talking, my mouth is getting dry again. I'm not sure. By the way, Brother Adam, welcome. Thank you for being here. I don't know what dog tongue means, but that doesn't sound fun. He found great people by looking for great results and finding out who is responsible for them. What results do we want within our Masonic lodges and within Freemasonry as general? Are we as Freemasons doing enough to ensure we achieve those results by, for example, guarding the West Gate? This is how he interviewed people. In an interview, I'll purposefully upset someone. I'll criticize their prior work. I'll do my homework, find out what they worked on, and say, God, that really turned out to be a bomb. That really turned out to be a bozo product. I say St. John as a general rule. I think my dog tongue is in your tongue got dry, which I've heard happen because it's like panting, right? It makes your tongue dry. This is how I interview people. I'll purposely upset someone. I'll criticize their prior work. I'll do my homework, find out what they worked on, and say, God, that really turned out to be a bomb. That really turned out to be a bozo product. Why did you work on that? The worst thing that someone can do in an interview is to agree with me and knuckle under. What I look for is someone to come right back and say, you're dead wrong, and here's why. Are we, as Freemasons, adequately guarding our West Gate to ensure it is great people being admitted therein? The first stage of guarding our West Gate is the interview process with a potential applicant. Never heard that either. Are we, as Freemasons, spending enough time thinking about the type of questions we will ask the potential applicant or what the interview process will entail? He believed the job of a leader was to make sure the work is as good as it should be and get people to stretch beyond their best. Is Masonic leadership doing enough to ensure Masonic membership engages in work that is as good, not just as it should be, but as it could be, and ensuring Masonic membership stretches beyond its best? He believed the job of a leader was to cajole, beg, and plead, and threaten at times, to do whatever is necessary to get people to see things in a bigger and more profound way, and to have them do better work than they thought they could. Is Masonic leadership cajoling, begging, pleading, and threatening, doing whatever is necessary to ensure membership is able to see Freemasonry in a bigger and more profound way than they otherwise would or could? He believed that the priorities of a leader were 1, recruit, 2, set an overall direction, 3, inspire, cajole, and persuade. What is the overall direction we as Freemasons wish to pursue? He believed a creative company should have a risk-taking creative environment on the product side and a fiscally conservative environment on the business side also. Are we, as Freemasons, willing to be risk-taking and creative as it relates to our Masonic experience, while also paying attention to the fiscal conditions of our Masonic lodges? Is it possible to do both? He believed you have to choose what you put your love into really carefully. Are we, as Freemasons, putting our love into Freemasonry? He had a remarkable set of values that he held dear. Life is short, don't waste it, tell the truth. Technology should enhance human creativity. Process matters, beauty matters, details matter. The world we know is a human creation. We can push it forward. Do we, as Freemasons, pay attention to our Masonic processes, to the beauty of our ritual, to the details of Freemasonry as a whole? The world we know is a human building, and Freemasons can build another level. He thought when deciding what to work on, you should ask yourself, what do I give a shit about, and then go do that. Does the average member give a shit about Freemasonry? He would never sell Apple, not for all the money in the world. Apple is not for sale. Freemasonry is not for sale. He believed you should master the basics, simplify the product line, and focus on the gems. Masonic meetings provide an opportunity for Masonic membership to engage with one another. Are we keeping meetings simple and focused on the gems, or what really matters, so as not to waste our most valuable resource, which is our time? He believed marketing was about values, that the world is noisy and you should focus on telling customers what you believe in and what you stand for. What are Masonic values? Do we as Freemasons live those values? Do we tell others what those values are based on how we live our lives? He believed one way to invest in yourself is by exploring uncharted paths that are different from your past experiences. You know it's an uncharted path when you have no idea where it will lead. What are some uncharted Masonic paths? He believed that people that think they're following a safe path pay the highest price of all. They won't realize it for a decade or two, and by then it's too late. Does Freemasonry play it too safe? Are there risks that could result in significant Masonic benefit, but which we are too afraid to take? He didn't believe in resting on laurels or sleeping on wins. Make something great, then do it again. A failure isn't a failure so long as one keeps fighting. A success isn't a success so long as one quits. It's not about quitting. Thank you so much for being here, Smokey. We'll be seeing you soon. Are we as Freemasons willing to keep fighting after we win? He imagined what reality lacked and set out to remedy it. What does Freemasonry lack? What can we as Freemasons do to remedy this lack? By the same token, what do our communities lack, and what can we as Freemasons do to remedy the same? Welcome, Underground Thomas. Thank you for being here. He believed in straightforward, clear communication. If the work isn't good enough, you have to tell them straight. This isn't good enough. I know you can do better. You need to do better. Now go do better. To be in a Masonic administrative position requires a great deal of communication to our membership. Are we, as administrators, ensuring we communicate in a straightforward and clear manner? He remained driven by a mission to put something back into the pool of human experience. What do we, as Freemasons, put back into the pool of human experience? To put another way, what stones do we, as Freemasons, add to the temple known as humanity? I'm going to put that in my X account. Give me 1 second. Welcome, Underground Thomas. How's it going? Let me know in the chat if you are doing well. And don't forget to hit that like button. Oh, well, like, I mean, I guess that makes me, well, it makes me sad, obviously, because I hate to see any Masonic building not there anymore, but I guess it's still being used. I hope they manage to keep some of the items there with them, like some of the Masonic facade or indications of what it once was. I'd hate to see it just gone altogether. That would make me very sad. But how is your day going? How was your weekend? Let me know. Let me know how everybody's doing. I'm going to take one moment off and then I'm going to switch over and keep talking about this article or the rest of it, why I think it applies to Freemasonry, how I think it can apply to Freemasonry. Then we'll just switch over and just anything that jumps in the chat. I'll take it. I mean, one of the greatest bands of all time. Well, I'm very glad that, can you, Underground Thomas, if you ever get the chance, I'm going to give you my email. Can you ever send me a picture of that building? The fact that it still has the Masonic building in it, I think is awesome. It's info@Square and Compass. But I'm happy they kept that. I think that is awesome. Nice. info@squareandcompass.ca. And if it's okay with you, I'll share them on my stream. So I'll share them on my socials as well. Oh, yes. Let me just do it this way. info@squareandcompass.ca. Which is also my email, which is also my website, squareandcompass.ca. So you can check it out there as well. Or that's where you find my website. He believed in the basics. Great product, great marketing, great distribution. My question, what are the Masonic basics? Excuse me, have we as Freemasons mastered those? You could argue another way, what are the basic Masonic building blocks, the basic Masonic stone blocks? And have we mastered those? He believed you must keep up with innovations in distributions. With which societal innovations is Freemasonry planning to keep up? What can we as Freemasons do to keep up or catch up with societal innovations? I think that's a very valuable question. He believed brands take centuries to build, or decades to build. Freemasonry has taken centuries to build, and the building continues. What can we as Freemasons do to ensure we assist in buildings in building as strong as organization as possible in 2025. So Freemasons in 21-25 can enjoy Freemasonry too. He would capture the evolution of his own thinking by emailing himself. Keeping track of our thinking on Freemasonry equals a very powerful tool as it relates to our Masonic growth. Do you keep a Masonic journal? Do you keep track of your thinking on Freemasonry in other ways? He viewed Apple as the world's premier bridge builder between normal people, quote unquote, normal people, and the exploding world of high technology. The Masonic member represents a bridge between his lodge and the community. What bridges are we as Freemasons building between the lodge and the community? He wanted to demystify technology. How can we, Steve Jobs had a precise understanding of how and why people find technology mystifying or otherwise intimidating, and used design principles to demystify the same, making technology approachable to the average person. How can we, as Freemasons, demystify Freemasonry to encourage the community to appreciate the same? And by the way, I'm sharing all of these on my social medias. So, follow me on Twitter. You'll get to see me talking about all this jazz. Let's see. He believed excellence was a habit, and we repeatedly do. Do we, as Freemasons, spend enough time practicing our Masonic ritual and preparing for Masonic meetings? He believed you should be curious about what came before you and should spend time learning about it. Freemasonry has traditions dating back to the 16th century, if not earlier. Are we as Freemasons curious about what came before us? Are we as Freemasons using our daily advancement of Masonic knowledge to learn about these traditions? He believed you simply could not mix messages when selling something new. A customer can barely handle one great new idea, let alone several. What is the Masonic message we as Freemasons wish to share with our membership, our communities, and our families? He said it's a circus world and you'll never know what's around the next corner, which it absolutely is. No question, just a statement, enjoy the circus. He believed in management by values, which means finding people that want the same things you want, figuring out the best way to get those things along the way. Are we as Freemasons adequately guarding our west gate to ensure it is great people being admitted therein? He believed in the mantra, finding the right people is half the battle. Are we as Freemasons adequately guarding our west gate to ensure it is the right people being admitted therein? He said you can't plan to meet the people who will change your life. Is there a Masonic mentor, member, officer who changed your life? If there is, let me know in the chat whom it could be. That's a great belief, Texas. That's a great belief, Courtney. I could 100% see that as being the case. He believed everything is temporary. There's no such thing as safety. The Philip K. Dick approach to that, right? Everything in life is for a while. Even a stone will, over enough millennia, fade away. Therefore, should we not, as Freemasons, be willing to take risks to push forward our craft? Why, be afraid to take risks if everything is just for a while anyways? He believed that your life is a story and that you should remember that your life is a story and that you should always try to act like your life is a story. How much and to what extent is Freemasonry a part of your story? Or you could say the story of your life. He believed in rejecting dogma, which he defined as living with the results of other people's thinking. He said that dogma can be so loud that it can drown out your own inner voice, and you should avoid this. The typical Masonic refrain, or the refrain of the past master, is that's not how we did it in my day. What Masonic dogmas are holding Freemasonry back? What can we do as Freemasons to avoid these dogmas, or to fight back against these dogmas, or pick, any kind of term around that? He believed a great place to start is by improving the product you hate. If you can make something you love, you convince other people to love it too. Are there elements of Freemasonry that you hate? What can you, as a Freemason, do to improve those elements? And the last one, he said, all glory is fleeting and you should just get back to making something wonderful. Building something wonderful is hard, but worth it. I suppose the other question you could ask is building something wonderful hard, or is worth it? But I would say, yes, it is. So that was from Medium. So please make sure you're following me on Medium as well as everything else. It's absolutely of vital importance, I think, that you follow not just my work on video and audio, but also my work on Square and Compass on Medium. Leave some like, leave some comments, some responses. Follow me on all my social media channels. Right now I'm just posting all of my different questions on X to see if I get some responses. And that is the end of the actual official stream. I'm trying to get more people on the blog, because I think, honestly, some of the stuff I've written, I've been really impressed by. And the beautiful thing about the blog, too, is for this, like if I say something that you find interesting or useful, or pick your term, you kind of have to write it down quickly yourself or remember the timestamp of when I said it so that you can hopefully go back and find it again. If you're following the blog, then at least, and I write something meaningful, at least in that sense, hopefully you guys can, you've always got it there. You can highlight it. You can make a note of it. It's just easier to do it that way. Thank you, Underground Thomas. For some reason, my internet or my email is being funky at the moment. It's not letting me find things the way I want to. Or it's not letting me log on at the moment. Sometimes I'll give a perfunctory wipe down there. It just depends on if the mood so strikes me. By the way, I haven't gotten any confirmation about I'm just looking online quickly, about what was happening in Arkansas, whether there was and was not, in fact, an active shooter. Last I heard, at least there's been no injuries or deaths, according to social media, which is a really good thing. Let's keep our fingers crossed it stays that way, and that this whole thing was some type of some type of hoax of some sort. Fingers crossed. Because, let me see, at least, maybe I'll check if Twitter is saying anything. Let's move this here. Let's see. When I type... So as of... University of Arkansas issues an alert for an active shooter at the Mullins Library. Police are asking students to shelter in place. I think you've already read it, but if you haven't, if you type in to Google, let's see, if you type in build something wonderful, and medium, or I'd even say build something wonderful, medium, square, and compass on Google, it should take you to it. You can become a member for free, and you don't have to worry about necessarily, spending any money. Kind of like Patreon, you can become a free member of Medium, and you can check us out there. Like I said, I've got a lot of good written stuff down that I'm trying to get a little bit more attention to. I'm still not finding anything specific about Arkansas, so maybe, fingers crossed, it's not a big deal, or it's nothing happened, who knows. I think even just the discussion of it, or the thought of it, or a news article about it is a big deal in and of itself, but hopefully let's see, did I get it here? Yeah, it looks like it's not coming through, which is unfortunate. Trying to see if I can sign in this way. What's going on? Sure, like I said, you can send them. I appreciate it. I will always take, oh, here it is, I think. I will always take free stuff, believe me. Thank you. I'm hoping to find... let's see. Maybe if I go here, because I just got back in. Oh yeah, always never kick a gift horse in the mouth. I'm trying to figure out if I can find, for some reason, I did not get the email. Okay, that would make sense. The other option is you can share them with me through social media. I don't know if you're on any sites. I mean, you gotta bleach. You gotta use bleach. Bleach is my favorite type of thing to use, even if there's no poop. You may be able to compress them underground, Thomas, or there may, like I said, you can probably, what you can do is create a Google Drive, put them in there and share the link. That works really well also. Yeah, still nothing with Arkansas on CNN, which I don't know if that's a good sign. It means nothing's happening, or it means they're just being extra cautious. You are welcome. Here's an interesting question. I mean, I'm going to put this down because I'm curious what people would say about this. Even though it's not, hello again, Ryan. I hope you're doing well. Once again, even though it's not super Masonic related, um, if President Trump sends National Guard troops to Chicago, would you want me to go to Chicago and take film? I'd probably do this on my personal account, but if President Trump sends National Guard troops to Chicago, would you want me to go to Chicago for video that I could put on YouTube? The reason I'm asking is I have a ton of Masonic buddies, friends, and pals in Chicago, brothers, really. I've been to Chicago a million times. I've attended a bunch of Masonic meetings, both in Chicago and all around Chicago, and I would, be curious to know what you guys would think and if you would be interested in seeing that at all. And who knows where exactly in Chicago they might find themselves, right? That would be really curious to see if they were in Chicago exclusively or if they were in Chicago as well as, some of the northern and southern villages. My suspicion is no. My suspicion is it'll kind of be like in DC, which will be mostly a show of force without actually doing much, but we'll see. I mean, I've been to Chicago so often. My second cousin, who is Abby Hoffman? That name sounds familiar. Was he like a famous gangster of some sort? American social activist. I've been to Chicago, like I was saying, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and I've never felt unsafe. So it's one of those things where I feel like there's just a lot of talk, but no actual. Like I said, I've never felt the need for like I've been to Chicago, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to Manila, I've been to Rio. At no point have I ever felt, I've been to Detroit. At no point have I ever felt unsafe or like I need, um, or that I need a pepper spray or anything like that. So I will do that. I mean, Chicago definitely has the best food. It's wonderful. And I've tried the deep dish pizza. I've done the Pequods thing. Um, what is it called? The Pequods thing. Pequods. Delicious, delicious um, pizza. So I've said it before. My favorite food in Chicago, my favorite restaurant for breakfast is the Ellie's Pancake House, which is located on North Milwaukee Road, right across from the Motel 6. Some of the best breakfast you can have. We got Stryker here. I'm going to show this. He asked me, I don't know if you guys can see it. Are you white, straight, male, Christian? Paul Krugman would. Well, so, I mean, by the way, thank you. I'm getting the pictures. That is really, really cool. Thank you so much. He asked me, am I white, straight, male, Christian? Paul Krugman would hate me for that. Isn't Paul Krugman a writer? Like a political writer? An economist? Well, I mean, I am. some of those things. I am not, I would not call myself a Christian. I believe in a supreme being, but I do not have any particular faith. Like I don't ascribe to any particular faith other than a belief in a supreme being. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I don't think Paul Krugman would hate me. I think Paul Krugman would think I'm okay. I don't know. I could be wrong. This is the Kingston one. I couldn't photograph. Okay, very cool. Staircase of a private residence in Brownville, New York. That is really cool. The fact that there's a square and compass or square and compasses in the like the stairs, and I love the fact that you came across that. You know, that's really cool. It's amazing how often you see these things or these things exist and you don't realize they exist. The number of different square and compasses, Masonic, whatever you want to call them, Masonic symbols that are so often just kind of hiding in plain sight. I don't know if I am or not. I was curious though if there's a National Guard deployment there, if you would be interested in me going there to see it. I have no plans right now to go, but maybe I could film some stuff there. I'd probably film on my personal channel. Although I'd be fascinated to know if the National Guard ever made it anywhere in front of any Masonic buildings. I think that would be interesting. I just think that the picture alone would be worth getting of a National Guard standing in front of a Masonic building. What's a big boy? I don't know what that means, big boy. I mean, there are Masonic temples that come in all shapes and sizes. Well, Texas has got absolutely like some absolutely incredible Masonic buildings in Waco and other places, but even the smaller Texas buildings are still cool, are still really beautiful. Like I went to Webb and stuff, and they always have some really delicious food as well, so that helps out quite a bit. I mean, I guess I am because I do not know by what you are referring when you say Big Boy Temple. I have no idea what that means. Um, oh, apple pie is awesome. Apple pie is absolute. Apple pie with coffee. That's the best part. Oh, we got another one. Let's see. I love the Fort Worth Masonic Temple. I think they are absolutely the best. Like I said, I don't know if I ever got to tour there. I forget now. I have so many Masonic pins from Texas. You would think that I would have a memory of it. But I know I've seen pictures of it, I've seen images of it. It's absolutely beautiful. One of the best. It's like Texas in general, it has some absolutely incredible and amazing Masonic. Well, if you're just saying like big Masonic temple in terms of size, then absolutely they have a lot of big. Um, like I said, I throughout. I guess there's going to be troops coming to Chicago, according to what I'm seeing here. Troops coming to Chicago. Trump plans military invasion of Chicago, according to Kyle Kalinske. He's on Secular Talk, which is a pretty decent channel. I'm just curious what he's going to say, because it might be worth checking that out and exploring that. Again, just to see, even though in Washington, D.C., there's a ton of Masonic monuments, I'm assuming the National Guard is at least around some of those. He's just been talking about sending them for ages to different places, anywhere. Well, now we're getting into politics, and I guess people can just define or decide for themselves. Anywhere that is a blue state that has higher quote unquote crime rates, though crime is a very, we can talk about what he means by actual crime because it's complicated. Um, um, but he's been talking about sending troops there to Baltimore. He did it in Los Angeles. He's doing it in DC right now. But it's oftentimes in blue places where the people did not vote for him, which is interesting. Well, I mean, I don't know if Kyle is an atheist or not. I don't know him at all. I think the name of it more references the idea of being secular, as in separation of politics from religion, that type of thing. But people can be secular. That's fine. People can even be atheists. That's fine. They couldn't be Masons if they were, so strongly atheistic they did not believe in any type of supreme being. So Kyle may not be able to be a Mason, but he still provides interesting ideas. They've been talking about it. So he could be, yeah. Like I said, I've never seen any of his discussions on religion. Um, I just see his discussions on politics, and I tend to, not all the time, but I tend to agree with him more than disagree with him on some items. Certainly on, not being a fan of Trump. I think him and I have that in common. So I may also have TDS then because I would not a particularly not a particular fan of Trump. I think we'll survive it. I think we'll make it through. I think I should say we. I think the states will make it through this, but I don't think it's going to be a fun 3 years, or even a fun 4 or 5 years. Which, from a Masonic perspective, it's how do we as Freemasons try to um, try to soften or cushion any economic or political or social ramifications of the next 4 years, as much as possibly can be. Or I mean, if I'm wrong and things actually go well in the states, and you see economic growth, then I guess Freemason will be able to ride that wave and benefit from it. However, if I am correct and there's what I think is going to happen, which is going to be some pretty significant economic, political, and social challenges, how can Freemasonry make sure it sticks around to make it through those challenges, as well as perhaps soften the blow for people who may be dealing with those challenges, members or otherwise? Again, Freemasonry is one type of social safety net. It's not the exclusive type of social safety net, but it's one type of social safety net, and a lot of people may need that social safety net um, in the coming years to try to make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth is what I think is the purpose of Freemasonry. I think that was the purpose of Freemasonry in 1717. I think that's the purpose of Freemasonry in the modern times. Right now, so if it is happening, then maybe I'll go. I'd put it on my personal account, but I'm curious to see because again, as someone who loves Chicago very much and does not want to see the National Guard deployed there, I think it'd be interesting to. Well, I mean, what would be the the liberal scam of Trump is not so great as a president, right? That just seems to be, I don't know, but I guess it's how people view things, right? When I view it, I'm not seeing a ton of upsides right now, that's for sure. Um, and for me, it's one of those things where obviously I want people to be happy, to be healthy, to have money in the bank, to have good jobs, all of that stuff, right? But even on a purely selfish level, if I want Freemasonry to do well, I kind of want to make sure that society is doing well as well. Otherwise, I don't think I don't think Freemasonry is going to do well because it's going to be dealing with the same problems everybody else is. Shintanzala, I'm chatting about Freemasonry, but now I kind of switched over and started talking about just general stuff. I hope that you will hit the like and subscribe button, and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about Freemasonry. Or just let me know how your day is going in general. I'm just trying to figure out. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that there will be some troops making their way to Chicago. So we shall see. If I were in Chicago, yeah, I'd probably have to get a GoPro or something. 'Cause it'd be too hard to wheel. I mean, unless I just found myself like a perch somewhere, like a second floor office space, and was able to just. Because I don't know where. I mean, I assume they'd be in like the loop. Because again, in like Washington, from what I hear, they don't. They're not actually in the crime-ridden areas. They're in the more like touristy areas. But I mean, it would be fun anyways to just be traveling around Chicago with the GoPro now that I think about it. And actually, like, how cool, how much fun would it be to just do that in general and show all my favorite spots? Because there are a ton of really beautiful spots in Chicago that I love. I love visiting. So the Bean, whatever it is, but I feel like so much of it would be try to find the National Guard troops. That would be really cool though. And again, are there National Guard troops showing up in not showing up in, but showing up like in front of Masonic buildings? I think that'd be really cool to see. Does that affect Freemasonry at all? Are Freemasons more likely or less likely to be interested in going in to their meetings if the National Guard is floating about? My suspect is it probably wouldn't make a difference much one way or the other, but I'd be curious to find out. I mean, I would love to travel your neck of the woods. I think, well, again, maybe Chicago. It's my birthday coming up, and some jurisdictions have a year waiting time. Most don't. Most it's 30 days. In the States and Canada, it tends to be 30-day minimum, and no maximum. Some have a 30-day minimum and a 1 year maximum. Some have a year minimum. But by and large, in our neck of the woods, your neck of the woods, it's about 30-day minimum, I believe. So, or 30-day minimum waiting period. September 22nd. So yeah, so that's my B-day. So I would like to travel to, because I love to travel. It's my birthday. I'll probably travel to Chicago to again celebrate my birthday because that's one of my favorite places to be. So it makes sense to go there for my birthday. And there's probably at least a few different Masonic events happening that I would get the chance to check out. So that would be really, really fun as well. I've seen Red Eye. Wes Craven. I like Red Eye. I actually saw that in movie theaters with an old friend I haven't seen for ages. But we used to live, when I moved to Ottawa, I lived in this like rooming house where it was a bunch of individual I have no idea. Do you mean how many Masons are having babies? I have no clue. Or how many new Masons we're getting? I've never heard that expression before. The other thing I want to do for my birthday is go check another September. Birthdays are awesome. Um, oh yeah, we are definitely having less new Masons joining than those passing away. We've managed, I think, stop the bleeding somewhat, but we're still not really recovering. So, me too. I mean, I'm one day over from the next one, and people tell me I'm more like whatever comes after Virgo than otherwise, but I do hope once again everybody is doing well. This is the part of the stream where it's just to hang out and chill. I'll probably be ending this soon. I am going to be putting some more stuff on um, my shorts very soon, like YouTube shorts, where I talk about one, like kind of like what I did before, where I went through my entire Masonic collection. What I'm going to do is go through one item, talk about it for 1 minute, where I got it from, how much I enjoyed it. And I'm going to be doing that kind of probably every week or so. Oh, we got some celebrations. You're not wrong, Underground Thomas. That would be a really good idea. There's a lot of things we could do that I wish we were doing, believe me. So you're 100% not alone on that. But I was at actually a festival, hip hop festival, which was a blast. I loved it. So thank you to Needle for allowing me to be there, and thank you to everybody who took part in it. It was really, really cool. I don't know what that means. Like Shania Twain is sending special types of food. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is end this stream, but I will be back on at 1 a.m. Well, there you go. That's something. Take a moment to hit the, like I said, the like and subscribe button before I go. I am now 6 subscribers away from 2,500, so let's see if we can get there. And thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you'll have a great day. And I'll talk to you all, I guess, 1 a.m. tonight. And don't forget to check me out on Medium. Check out Kevin Ashton's stuff, Old School Kevmo. He's got some really cool videos that you can learn about kind of his process, his system for cooking for a large group of people, and how perhaps that can be applied to Freemasonry. And I will see everybody 1 a.m. All right, thank you guys so much.